Welcome to the show,
Okay.
Jill Stein. We are super
Oh,
excited and happy to see you. Thank you for showing up.
oh man, my privilege, my honor. So great to be with you.
Jill Stein, man, everyone has so many questions for you. We are so glad to have you. And I mentioned this last time too, it is absolutely wonderful that you're running and the platform that you are running on because, well, I mean, you're already giving us victories. You're already giving us victories because you are talking about and addressing the things that the other candidates are too afraid to talk about. You are breaking taboos. You actually openly talk about APEC. And like the things you talk about, I'm so happy. So you're already giving us victories by doing that. And I want to remind everybody, listen, Jill Stein was like the only candidate to be all these college protests. Jill Stein was actually there. How many other like candidates, like even governors were actually showing up? None. Jill Stein went out there. She even got Jill Stein. I seen you get arrested. That was you took one for the team. That is awesome. Jill Stein was actually out there and speaking up so much and standing with the college protesters that she was actually arrested with them, and that was all over the news. That was absolutely fantastic. On June 8th, you were there at Washington, D.C., while most other politicians were way too scared. That was amazing. That was wonderful. Jill Stein, I am so happy. Great for you to be up here. Is there anything you'd like to share with us first? We have a
Oh
lot of
man.
people with questions.
Well, I just say everything that you're saying, Eric, just it so hits home with me. I mean, I feel like, you know, I had nothing to do with politics until I had hair this color because to me the whole process is so corrupt and despicable and and it's such psychopathic people who fight for power and kind of self-promotion, and I didn't want anything to do with it. And what kind of changed my mind really was supporting Ralph Nader's campaign in the year 2000. That was the first candidate who ever, to me, spoke like a human being and talked about things that I thought were really critical about healthcare as a human right and about good jobs and wages and getting money out of politics and getting the corruption out and ending the war machine. It was just like music to my ears. And then when I got tricked into running for office, actually, right after that, otherwise I wouldn't have done it. I got tricked by people in the Green Party who were saying, just keep fighting those same battles. Social movements were always, to me, that's what the fight was about. I grew up in the Vietnam War. I wanted nothing to do with the corrupt political parties and their war machines. So that's why I had to be tricked into it. But once I ran in the year 2002, I discovered it could be a whole different ballgame if it's like actually honest people, not predators who are trying to manipulate and exploit people. It should just be like regular people, sharing our struggles and building critical mass so that we can do something about them and take power out of the hands the economic and political elites who are running the show and driving us all over the cliff right now, which we see in our healthcare, our jobs, our lousy wages, the rents we can't afford, the student debt that people are stuck in, and this crazy war machine, which is spending half of our congressional dollars on these endless wars that are making us less safe. And they're also impoverishing us because that's where our $1 trillion a year is going instead of into the healthcare and housing and education and, and climate changes, protection, really, protection for our food, water, our air, and our climate that we desperately, urgently need. And I just realized that we have to fight the system like our lives depend on it, and no one was going to do it for us. So at any rate, I so relate to everything that you're saying, Eric, and everybody on this TikTok who shares that view that we need a government that's working for us, and we need an America that works for us and a world that works for us. And all the excuses they make about why it's only working for the economic and political elites, that's just garbage. It's just BS. And it's our job really to stand up with the courage of our convictions and demand, the justice, the peaceful, just, and sustainable world that really is within our reach if we demand it. If we don't demand it, we're not going to get it, so you can't hide behind some lesser evil. We have to fight for the greater good, like our lives depend on it, because they do. And with that, I'll turn it back to you. And I'm really excited to be here and to be talking with everybody.
Thank you so, so much. I definitely appreciate you. And you have a very refreshing voice, because Democrats and Republicans are both just repeating the same stuff they've been saying for decades. You're actually given alternative options, which is the whole point of democracy, to have multiple presidential candidates. And I'm really, really glad that you're like really breaking the glass, because this year, especially, everybody, and I've mentioned this before Jill Stein arrived, polling data shows that for decades, this is the first time in decades a third party has actually polled more popular than Democrats and Republicans, because we're all sick of the same old lies to us. Super appreciate you, Jill Stein. We have Dr. Fax. Everybody, please hit the follow button on Jill Stein. Dr. Fax for the first question of the evening. Go right ahead, my friend. Thank you for showing up here, buddy. Dr. Fax. And
Here, thank you, Eric. Hello, Jill Stein. Nice to meet you. It's really a pleasure. I have so many questions, but I mean, since we only got one question to ask, I'm just going to ask you one question. With super PACs contributing to the majority of elections, how do you propose that we keep money out of politics?
That is such a good question. And, you've kind of hit kind of the elephant in the room here. You're kind of pointing to the elephant in the room, which is all about money. And, there's this famous saying that we have a choice in this country between vast concentrations of wealth or a democracy. You can't have both. And we got so much money packed into so few hands that it just fundamentally corrupts the system. And super PACs is one of those ways. And we just all heard about, I don't know if you heard, but many people heard about this $50 million contribution that just came into Donald Trump.
I heard.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was through a super PAC, because there's no other way you can contribute that amount of money. And that's what super PACs allow. They allow absolutely unlimited quantities of money to be spent. In theory, there's this little firewall between the super PAC and the campaign, but it's really more in theory and, not actually real. So, yeah, how do we control the super PACs? We basically do need to do what you said, which is to get big money out of politics, and super PACs should be ended altogether. And,
I agree.
do we need a constitution? We definitely need a constitutional amendment, but I don't think we have to totally wait for a constitutional amendment in order to take some steps. So in my home state, Massachusetts, we passed what's called a clean elections law, which is that it allows for public funding. And it creates a system of publicly financing candidates who then follow certain rules, like that they don't take big money contributions. Like in our state, you could take $5. You could take $5 from people, and you had to collect a certain number of $5 contributions, and then you would qualify, and you had to get on the ballot and a few things like that. So it wasn't just like a totally open door, but it was a very reasonable system that you could demonstrate that you were a legitimate candidate, and then you could qualify for not just a matching fund. Matching funds are very limited, and they amplify differences between campaigns. A truly clean elections kind of system will give the same amount of money to everybody. And the other thing that should go with that is that we should have free access to the public airwaves, which belong to us as the public, and they should be available for public interest purposes. So there are ways that we can do this, and the key is insisting on it. And if we get into the White House, it's a whole new ballgame, because when you're in the White House, you have the bully pulpit, and we would be not just the commander in chief, we would be above all the organizer in chief to help us all stand up and push for pieces of legislation that need to be passed at the congressional level. And how would we do that? We would do that by restoring town hall meetings, which used to be a thing and aren't a thing anymore because our elected officials are too busy talking to their big donors. So we would restore town hall meetings. We would also restore congressional hearings, meaningful congressional hearings, not just, political, partisan, minutia kinds of, score points, congressional hearings. So there are many ways that we can help inform and empower everyday people to be the drivers of our democracy. And what you're talking about, a clean elections system that gets big money out of politics, is absolutely fundamental and is very high up there on our priorities. Thank you for that question.
Jill
Thank you for
Stein,
the
that
answer.
was
Thank you. I
yes, Dr.
appreciate
Fax,
it.
really good question, man. That's actually something that it comes up a lot in people's minds. Is everyone sees it? The money has way too much sway. The money of foreign countries, the money of big pharma, the money of the military-industrial complex. Everyone's money seems to have more influence than protests, which they consistently ignore. Thank you, Jill Stein. Our next guest, I believe, is Resistance is Beautiful. Thank you for joining Resistance is Beautiful. Everybody, remember, please tap the screen, share the live. Resistance, go right ahead, my friend, for your question.
Thank you, Eric, for having me. Can you hear me clearly?
Yes, my friend.
You can. Okay, very good. Thank you, Eric, for having me. Thank you, everybody, for the hospitality, the love. Dr. Stein, thank you so much for spending some time with us. In our circles, your name comes up a lot, and it's an honor to have you with us, truly. I ask you this question, as a Palestinian myself. So the real reason that Israel gets away with all of its crimes is because it has dehumanized Palestinian resistance. That's how they can unalive children and eliminate entire hospitals and refugee camps, because they know by saying someone from H group was inside of that refugee camp, they can get away with it because the Americans will be too scared to argue back. So this allows the Americans to swallow the pill of unaliving thousands in a hospital, thousands in an apartment building. The first step to winning is to take that power away from them by openly supporting Palestinian resistance, by openly encouraging Palestinians to take up arms, to build more tunnels, and so on. So my question to you, will you begin that shift in supporting Palestinian resistance?
So let me say that I think, Palestinian resistance comes with the territory. There is no stopping Palestinian resistance. And in the same way that Israel used to say that the PLO was a terrorist organization, they would never do the right thing, they could never be pacified, they had to be eliminated. They have the same approach to Hamas. And, my view is that this is all extremely misguided and dangerous. It's really important to understand that Palestinian resistance will be here while international law is violated, while the human rights of Palestinians are absolutely destroyed, and while Israel is practicing ethnic cleansing and essentially a murderous occupation. So that is the problem. And, I personally, I don't scold Palestinians for resistance. I have never participated in that. At the same time, I don't disregard international law, and I don't advocate the targeting of civilians ever. In my view, everybody has to abide by international law, but I see this as essentially a problem of occupation and ethnic cleansing from the get-go. And it did not start on October 7th. It did not start with Hamas. Hamas is an inevitable response, as the PLO was also, to the devastation, the abuse, and the murder that's been going on for more than 76 years. And And that's where I like to keep the focus, because it's the high ground that really cannot be challenged. And, I think this is a really, I totally respect what Palestine has to do and will do while it is an occupied and oppressed people. It's going to do that. And if Israel and the rest of the world, want to fix this, we have to start with the cause of the problem, not the response to it. And in my view, the American empire is not going to get on the right side of this discussion. There's not going to be any persuading them anyhow. Our job, in my view, is to basically organize our power. And by that, I mean a coalition of people who support international law, human rights, the rights of children, who oppose the systematic torture and murder of children on an industrial scale. That is what's going on here. And that is where I think we can really build an unstoppable coalition to shut it down. And in my view, we need to move quickly. 1 million lives are hanging in the balance right now in Gaza that the UN food program says are going to die in the next month, given current policy. So how do we force Biden's hand? Because he has the power to stop this. No one else does. The UN can pass all the resolutions it wants. Same for the International Court of Justice and the Criminal Court. Doesn't matter. Israel doesn't care. Israel has to be forced. And Israel can only be forced by the US, and the US can only be forced by us. And the stronger we are in standing up, the more we can force Biden's hand. He moved from opposing all UN Security Council ceasefire resolutions to actually proposing one that in fact Hamas had already accepted and had already proposed themselves several weeks back. And, so that accomplished something, that shows we're getting somewhere. We're making it impossible for him to continue as he's going. And I really encourage people, we need to be out there in all forms of resistance here in this country. We need to be out there in the streets, on the campuses, on social media, everywhere. We also need to be getting on the ballot, because getting on the ballot is a power move. And it tells Joe Biden that his days are numbered, and we are organized, we are strong, and we are coming. And whether we win the election or we simply win the day by building a coalition for the long haul, for the human rights of Palestinians, for international law, for justice, in the big picture, for ending empire and endless war and the machines that go with it. This is all part of the same thing. And I really urge people to go to jillstein2024.com and click on ballot access, which is up there in the menu on the top. And if you click on that, you'll see a map come up. And then if you click on your state, you're going to see whether your state's already on the ballot or not. And if they're not, you can help. You can help by being a part of the ballot drive in your state. And even if your state's already on, you can help by making a contribution if you can throw something into the hat, because the Democrats are running scared. They're running so scared that they're throwing us off the ballot. They're taking us to court now, which is entirely new and is really a sign of progress, because, the Gandhi saying, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, and then you win. So we're now at the fight you stage. They never felt before so scared that they had to challenge us in court. And now they're challenging us in court all over the place and trying to lock us out of the debates. So the stronger we are together, the more we can force their hand and force not only a ceasefire, but an end to the ethnic cleansing, the occupation, and the apartheid government of Israel.
Thank you for such a beautiful answer. Just to let you know, Dr. Stein, because of your answer, I will be voting for you, and I will be publicly advocating for you as well. Thank you for such a beautiful answer, Doctor.
Yes, thank
Thank
you. And everybody, Resistance is Beautiful is a TikTok social media content creator and live show host. So, my
Okay.
friend Resistance, thank you so much for showing up here, and definitely appreciate you. Everybody, hit the
Thank
follow
you.
button on Resistance is
Thank you,
Beautiful.
guys.
Hit the follow button of
Thank
Jill
you.
Stein, of course. And
Thank you.
everybody, if you wish to. If you wish to help out Jill Stein's campaign and would you like to donate to her and help her out, JillStein2024.com. I put the link in my profile to make it a lot easier if you just want to click on over. And to donate, it's a big yellow button in the upper right-hand corner of the screen. Jill Stein, I will be donating to you again today too,
Oh,
because I mean,
thank you so much.
we super need you. We need you in this. And again, you've already given us victories by breaking a whole bunch of taboos. I mean, seriously, you are talking about things that other people are too afraid to talk about. You're expanding the narrative. You're breaking it because again, all they say is the same old stuff over and over again for decades. You're giving us other options, more everything. So we super duper appreciate you. JillStein2024.com. Everybody, if you wish to donate again, I will be. All right, let me see. Our next guest is, I believe it is, Shelly. Go right ahead, Shelly.
No, I just wanted to thank Resistance for coming over and thank everybody and thank Dr. Stein so much for coming with us today. So good to see you and your team working so hard. And guys, as Erik said, we've got Dr. Stein here. She is the best candidate in my view. We've got Butcher Biden or Treacherous Trump. That's what I'm calling them, not Dr. Stein. So let's get behind our candidate here and let's push forward, folks. I so appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Shelly. I believe it would be
Thank you,
Tony is
Shelley.
next, and
Good to
then
see you.
You too, Dr.
let me see. All right, so Tony would be next, and then Matt Arab. So, Tony, my friend, welcome to the show. Go right ahead, Tony, for your question, my friend.
Dr. Stein, how you doing? Erik, how are you?
Good.
You've got our vote already, so from I think all the Palestinians and the pro-Palestinians. My question, and if you don't want to answer it, you don't have to. Are you with a one state or two state?
Okay, no, that's a really great question. And so, like, in the big picture, I think we need one state that guarantees security and human rights for everyone. Human rights, security, full powers of citizenship, all that. The ultimate goal here is definitely one secure state. That said, there are something like 140 countries right now who have already endorsed full rights for Palestine in the UN and recognition of Palestine as an independent state. And given that there is a whole lot that's already ginned up, it's hard to say, no, wait a minute, let's develop a whole other set of laws and procedures and develop international consensus around it. That's going to take a while. So, my hope is that we can move ahead and get full rights for Palestine as an existing state in the two-state solution, and then begin to move forward towards what will be secure and just for everyone for the long haul.
Okay, thank you very
Thank
much.
you so much, Tony. That was a good question, my friend. Appreciate you, Tony. Appreciate you, Jill Stein. Everybody, once again, please tap the screen, share the live, help boost the algorithm. Jill Stein, we super duper appreciate you coming to our show today. Again, everybody, if you want to check out her campaign, if you wish to make a donation, if you wish to volunteer in your area for her, check out her website, JillStein2024.com. Link is in my profile just to make it easy to click over. So now let me get to the Mad Arab for your question, my friend. Appreciate you super much for your patience. Go right ahead, Mad Arab.
Thank you, Erik. Thank you, Dr. Stein, for giving me the opportunity to ask you a question in Free Palestine. My question to you is, as a father, I have two kids that are eligible for the draft scenario that the House has just passed between the ages 16 through 26. Now, I understand we have the ability to be a conscientious objector, but that's subjective to that being approved by the same people that are drafting them, right? And so, as a father, I don't want to have to support them leaving this state illegally and avoiding the draft. Even if I have to go with them, though, I will. So, my question to you is, what will you do to help ensure, as a Muslim American, and as is my children, that they won't have to go across the ocean and fight their own relatives, family, and people, or citizens of the same faith? Thank you.
Thank you for the question. And I share your alarm about the draft and the development of the draft, which was reinstated a couple of years ago. And then this year registration was made automatic. So people are going to be fed into that database automatically now. Currently it's men, but I know they're trying to enlarge it so that it's women. To my mind, this is part of a very alarming militarization, and really preparation for a permanent war. We're already in permanent war. It's half of our budget. The wars that we're fighting are absolutely horrific and destructive. So yes, we need to protect Muslim youth from being captured into this system and forced to fight their own families. But nobody should be fighting Muslim families overseas as they currently are and have been for the last 24 years or so. So, I firmly believe the American people do not support this. They do not support what this costs us. The average American household is paying $12,000 this year for the endless war machine and has paid about $55,000 since 2001. This is a devastating foreign policy, and it's getting more devastating by the day. As you probably know, we're heading towards, an explosion of Israel's war on Gaza, which is rapidly becoming, potentially a war between Israel and Hezbollah. And that is escalating rapidly. If it goes in that direction, we're looking at potentially Iran being involved. Israel's threatening to drop a nuclear weapon on Lebanon and, quote, get it over quickly. It's just outrageous what's going on. And our young people should not be dragged into this. And the whole country should not be dragged into this. This is absolutely an outrage. It threatens all of us, not only people who are conscripted, but if we start going nuclear, and we're progressing towards that in the proxy war in Ukraine as well. We're so busy watching the horrors in Gaza. A lot of other stuff is kind of slipping by, unnoticed by a lot of us, but there are really awful things going on in Ukraine now as well. And NATO is threatening to take out and reactivate nuclear weapons in storage. Russia is now, Russia and Ukraine are actually exchanging long-range weapons, and our weapons as the US, our weapons are now being used, as our other NATO weapons are being used directly to attack Russian territory. And US is providing intelligence and guiding these weapons. So we are now very directly implicated. And Russia is now warning that, well, in fact, not just warning, Russia, in fact, is now sending weapons to its allies that are on our borders, to Cuba, also to Venezuela, and other places around the world. So this is in the process of blowing up right now in a very big and scary way, which, to my mind, that's why we have to be in the debates. We have to be a part of this discussion. We have to be on the ballot and a choice for every voter, because if we are on the ballot, then we can really demand to be in the discussion and in the debates, because what they're doing cannot survive daylight. For the American people to know what's going on here now is to really help unify and amplify the resistance to this extremely dangerous empire that is being, that is just rampaging around the world right now and getting us all into horrific trouble that we will not be able to back away from. We're heading towards nuclear war now on two fronts. This is absolutely outrageous, and it is impoverishing us, and here they are installing the draft again. So this is very dangerous, and they're shutting down our rights of free speech and our right to protest. So this is, this is like code red here all over the place. We need to be standing up and fighting this. So I very much appreciate your opposition to the draft, and I think we're in very good company here. And this is, front and center in what we are fighting to shut down as a part of this absolutely dangerous and unsustainable empire. We need a foreign policy based on international law, human rights, and diplomacy, not on, being the biggest bully in the schoolyard. We are not anymore. So, we're going to lose this battle. If this battle is engaged, it doesn't look good for us. And, out of our own self-interest, we need to pull back here right away. And I think, the American people are in our court here to start with and have been, advocating for downsizing the military. And the draft was really passed without anybody knowing about it. This latest maneuver to make the draft automatic, no one knew about that until, about a week or 10 days ago, after it was already kind of a done deal. So this is treachery. This is treachery being practiced against the American people. And if we stand together, we can shut it down.
Thank you, Dr.
Jill Stein?
Appreciate you. Free Palestine.
Matt Arab, thank you so much. That was an awesome question too, because that was what a lot of people were wondering. And really, if Jill Stein is the captain of the ship, I don't think we'd even be going to war anyway. So I don't think that the whole draft question would even be relevant anymore. So we definitely appreciate you, Jill Stein, for seeing the political situation for what it is and finding a peaceful solution out. I definitely I would trust you more than anybody else for that task of finding a peaceful solution out of it and not even going to war. So we definitely appreciate you. Mad Arab, again, thank you for such a great question. I believe, let me see, I think Jam Jar is next. Correct me if I'm wrong. Jam Jar, you would be next, and then Magic, and then Nader. So Jam Jar, welcome to the show. Go right ahead. Remember, everybody, quick, less than 1 minute question.
Right.
And everyone, please tap the screen, share the live to help the algorithm. Go ahead, Jam Jar. Thank you for your patience.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
We can hear you well, my friend. Yep.
Good evening, Dr. Stein. Here's my
Hello.
question. How can you get more than 72 million votes, which Trump banked in 2020, considering that the Democratic base will not vote for you because they blame you for the 2016 Trump election, and considering you lost the Green Party nomination in Alaska to Jasmine Sherman? And I ask you, please, don't give me a cliche answer like one vote at a time, because my question is a practical one. Because
Jam Jar, respectfully, please.
Yes. Because a Trump presidency, for what Trump presidency means for the Palestinians, is Jared Kushner forces Egypt to open its borders to push the Gazans into the concentration camps in Sinai. And then Trump recognizes the annexation of Gaza the way he did with Jerusalem and the Golan Heights. So winning the day is not the objective here. Winning the election, the presidency, is the election. Thank you for taking my question.
So let me point out that under a very conservative president, Richard Nixon, who was the most conservative president of his era, we accomplished amazing things. We ended the war in Vietnam. We established the Clean Air Act, the Clean Water Act, women's right to choose. The Roe v. Wade was passed by a very conservative court. And all of that would never have been predicted. That happened because we were extremely mobilized as citizens, and we were out in the street and demanding it. So, I think all bets are off on what will happen. Many people consider Joe Biden the worst option and are working very hard to stop him and to make him pay a price for genocide, and others consider Donald Trump the worst. I consider them both the worst. In my view, we have to stand up for what we want, and if we want to win the presidency someday, we have to begin by working for that now and by establishing as strong a force as we can. And let me tell you how this election could be won. There are going to be 3 pro-genocide candidates on the ballot, and there will be only one anti-genocide pro-worker campaign that's on the ballot across the country. So when you've got a race that's divided 4 ways, right, you can win it with 26% of the vote, as little as 26%, depending on how the numbers fall out. But it can be won with 26% of the vote. You do not need a 51% of the vote. So this is a very different election in that way. And, again, I want to reiterate what Frederick Douglass said, that power concedes nothing without a demand. And if we hide behind whoever you think the lesser evil is, and lots of people have different opinions about who is the lesser evil, by hiding behind the lesser evil, you silence your voice. And we do not have a voice for peace. We do not have a voice to stop genocide. So if you think Joe Biden is the solution, to Donald Trump, well then, heaven help us, because we already know that Joe Biden has been leading the charge on genocide. And both of them, their policies are horrific, both of them. And it will require a very mobilized populace in order to stop them. But the stronger we are in the election, the more clout we have in the debates and in the policy tug of war that takes place for the next 4 years. So we only win here by asserting our full strength and building that strength so that we can stand up. Silence is not a political strategy. And if you're voting for the lesser evil, you have basically silenced yourself. And democracy needs not silence. Democracy needs a vision forward. It needs an agenda. It needs an explicit set of demands. Without that, we just kind of ricochet all over the place, and we just keep moving further and further to the right because money will rule the day if there is not a democracy that's in force. So, that's how we move forward here. We can continue under the existing system, which means, we don't have to wait for Donald Trump for fascism. We already have fascism. We have the draft, which is coming for our kids. We have cop cities. We have the 1030 law, which was passed under Obama, I think, which basically distributes military equipment. High-grade military equipment to our cities and towns that have armored vehicles and tanks and tasers and drones and more. This is what they are distributing, and this is the power that they have. If you think that's okay, keep voting for it. If you don't think it's okay, vote against it and vote for what we deserve.
Jill, thank you so much. And I would like to remind everybody, this is the first time in many, many decades that a third party had the opportunity to be able to win like this. She's getting registered in all the states and everything like that. And it's really due to the Democrats and the Republicans backstabbing all their voters all the damn time. And so polling shows that right now, this is like the prime time in many, many decades that a third party has a chance to win. And I think, with the dissatisfaction of both parties, it's a long time coming. I think we need this anyway. I want more than just 2 options every 4 years anyway. But I think it's going to happen this time. I really do believe so. And Jill, I really hope you're the one who breaks that glass ceiling and really proves that out there. So thank you super duper much. Magic, you're going to be next here. Dr. Jill Stein, thank you so much. Everybody, if you want to check out her on her website, jillstein2024.com. If you want to volunteer to help in your state, if you wish to donate anything, please check out her website. I'll be donating right after the show for sure, because we super appreciate you. You are only pro-Pally candidate right now, so we super appreciate you. Definitely need you. Magic, welcome to the show, and go right ahead for your question. Hello, Magic.
Hi, good evening. Good evening, Jill Stein.
Hi, Magic.
I would like to first thank you for having the courage to come out and speak to students, college students on encampments, And I admire your bravery, and I am so sorry that you had to experience that encounter with the police. It takes a real woman to go and stand up for what is right. So I truly admire and appreciate that, especially that I've been to the encampments. Um, Upon talking to colleagues and listening to live debates about Trump or Biden, there seems to be people that have this mindset that they are really the only two concrete answers, or the only two concrete presidential candidates that will actually have a chance of winning. And I did speak on a panel, and I did mention that I would be voting for you. And I got kind of a lot of pushback, and there was a lot of people saying that that's a waste of a vote, and he doesn't have enough ballot access. So I would like for you to speak about that. How likely are you to win the election, so that people aren't thinking or feeling that voting for you is a wasted vote and it would just go to Trump, for example, or it would just go to Biden, for example? And then also, because of the selected members in Congress, I call local politicians every single day to demand for a ceasefire, to stop aiding and funding Israel. We have phone banks. If you click the link in my bio. But anyway, my other additional part to this question is, because Congress representatives make the decisions and pass bills and legislations, and if you hopefully, God willing, become the president, how will their influence, if they're still in office, affect your final
Great.
decision making for the country moving forward? And how will you combat the selected APAC members? And please remind everyone how important it is to vote primary elections. And thank you so much.
Great, Magic. Those are wonderful questions. So, first on this idea that we only have two choices. It's like being in an abusive relationship where you keep making excuses for your abuser, and you can't envision the future without your abuser, and it'll get better next year, or he didn't mean to really beat me up so bad. Like, people in abusive relationships often make excuses and enable that abusive relationship. And in the same way, when people stand up and walk away from abusive relationships, they discover, oh my God, there's a whole life I can have, and I can take charge of my life. And I see our political system as very much like that. It's abusive. It wants to make you think that you're powerless when you're actually not powerless. And it just drums this propaganda into your brain so that you don't dare stand up. But that is what people really need to do. And sometimes they're just not ready and they're not going to do it. But what you want to remember is that 63% of Americans say we need an independent third party because the two that we've got are doing such a terrible job of serving the public interest. So there are lots of people out there. They may not be at the gatherings we're at. Often they are, they're disenfranchised. They are, they're people on frontline communities who are really struggling. They are people who are just barely hanging on, to pay their rent. They have lousy jobs. They're really busy. They don't have time to, to be following politics carefully. So you just, I find it's worth thinking about where you're gonna, pick your battles. Pick your battles where people are not wedded to the status quo. And pick your battles where people are struggling with student debt or their rent. And if you're going to a community that's actually in struggle, you're going to find people are all ears and they're otherwise not going to vote. That's where our votes mostly come from. As third parties, they come from people who otherwise won't vote. We usually don't change voters' minds. However, in this election, look at what just happened in New York in their primary, their Democratic primary. 83% did not come out to vote relative to 2020. So they've already kind of dropped out. The bottom has fallen out from the Democratic Party. So it's worth having the conversation to see, if people are ready. And if they're not, you can just direct your conversation elsewhere. But it's worth reminding people that you have to push the envelope. If we don't make a demand, we will never get a movement. And are you happy with how things are going for you, your prospects for jobs, your future? you know, your rent, your health care. You know, most people are just in complete struggle on this stuff. And by reminding people that it's not working for them, it does, you know, often it can help people make that transition. It's not a wasted vote because we are building a political force for the long haul. This is not just about one election. We're not going to dismantle empire here in one election. We want to stop this genocide, and then we want to move things in the right direction. We want to challenge AIPAC. We want to challenge the power of the military-industrial complex. We want to do all those things. But are we going to win, you know, win Congress and the presidency all at once? We want to get as far as we can go. In my view, that's what we want to do. If we just get to 5%, then it's a whole different ballgame in the next election. Because once you get to 5%, you can hang on to your ballot status, and you don't have to start all over at the beginning of the next election by, you know, taking 6 months, 9 months just to get on the ballot. These are the hoops we have to jump through. But if you're at 5 or 6%, you don't have to do that. Plus, you get a $20 million jump start in the general election. So you get a lot of public funding. So it's a whole new ballgame. And usually you don't like go from crawling to running marathons. You know, usually you have to progress. So building getting to 5% or 10% would be huge. And then the conversation from then on is totally different. And about dealing with Congress, just very quickly, if we get elected, it will be because there's a strong grassroots movement. We've got a lot of candidates who are running for Congress now as Greens, and there are some other anti-war, anti-genocide candidates who are also running as socialists or as progressive Democrats. So we're not the only ones. If there's a grassroots movement that's propelling us forward, it's also propelling people in Congress. And then, you know, the bottom line is that the people should be the drivers of Congress as well. And that's what I was mentioning before about bringing back town hall meetings so that we can hold our representatives' feet to the fire. They have to meet with us. Right now, they just meet with their big donors. So, you know, in the presidency, you have the bully pulpit, so you can do a lot to shame people into having these meetings and getting the pressure from below, which is what our elected officials should have. So there is a real means forward of kind of restoring the promise of our democracy and bringing back some of those institutions so that we, the people, if we can elect a president, we can have enormous influence over Congress and actually get the legislation passed that we need.
Thank you so much for answering. Oh, sorry. I was just going to end with, I think there's a lot of immigrant families that are already discouraged to vote, especially that they come to the United States and they feel like, all right, I got here, especially Muslim Americans post 9/11 are kind of like encouraged to stay quiet and not really vote or do anything, just make money. So I think that people need to further educate about that, especially regarding you. And thank you to you. Thank you so much.
Magic, thank you super duper much. And listen,
I just wanted
Dr.
to add
Jill
really
is,
quick. Sorry, Eric, if I could jump in as a fairly new citizen, I mirror that and I say, let's vote. As Dr. Stein says, if we're not in, we can't win. That's what they tell us when we go and work so hard for this citizenship. They tell us that our vote matters. Now, we worked for it. We read the books and we showed up. So let's show up on voting day and show up for Dr. Stein. That's why we're here, folks. So thank you very much. Appreciate it. And don't forget to donate. Jill Stein 2024. Thank you.
yes, the link to her website is in my profile. If you go on the website, jillstein2024.com, it's in the upper right-hand corner, yellow button, donate. And Dr. Jill Stein is absolutely correct. Guys, listen, this is a completely different ballgame. Do not hold these elections by the same rules as the previous elections. There is so much discontent everywhere, and third parties are breaking free and climbing to the top. So please don't hold these elections by the same rules as previous elections, guys. This is a different ballgame. Third parties do have a chance to win in this election. And I'm excited about that. I really, really want that. And Again, we need to break the Republican Democrat duopoly and have more than just two fake choices every single 4 years. So, Doctor, thank you so much for breaking glass ceilings, and we definitely appreciate your responses. Nader, who will be next? Our buddy from Nader, who everybody is. He's from Al Mayadeen. He is a journalist from Al Mayadeen, and we super appreciate you being here, Nader. Everybody, please hit the follow button on Jill Stein and Nader. Nader, go right ahead, my friend.
Thank you, Eric. Thanks for the invite. I hope you guys can hear me. Thank you, Dr. Stein, for doing this and making yourself available as you always do, whether it's on platforms like this or in the protests or in other functions. We really appreciate it. You and I met very, very briefly in 2016 when you came to Al Mayadeen studio in Washington, D.C., and you were live with us on our network a few years back.
Oh, amazing. Okay.
Yeah, so one
Very
thing,
cool.
Before I get into my question, I do have to just say we're going to be working on a few feature stories that have to do with activism here in the United States, surrounding, around the Gaza issue. And so we would like to reach out to you to have you to interview you for those for the series. So I need a way to contact you. So maybe afterwards, if one of your people can contact me somehow, and maybe we can make that happen. So I appreciate that.
Great. Terrific. All right, let's do that.
Yeah. The other thing is, I always tell people that it's very important to show up to these protests and to these major events, but they're really meaningless if we don't do anything the day after, all the way up until the next protest. So it's, about getting together, and what do we do the day after the protest? The protest is very nice, go to the White House, wherever it is, and show our advocacy. But then what is it really if we're not doing anything in between those protests? And so I wanted to ask you about activism, and it's the same thing for a presidential candidate or any political candidate. Regardless of the outcome of the election, what happens afterwards? What happens between these elections? What advice do you have for the community? And look, Palestine, our people here that are here today, we're not a monolith. I mean, there are so many important issues, whether it's the economy, the environment, and Palestine, Ukraine, whatever it is. But as far as activism is concerned, how can we better utilize the awareness that has taken place now, that is continuously taking place and increasing day by day? What can we do, and how can we work together along with our candidates right now in between these major events, whether it's protests, whether it's elections, to make our voices even louder?
Yeah, and that's a great, great question. And, I'll say that in my experience, which really started as a social activist, as someone who was fighting for healthcare, fighting to shut down polluting coal plants, to help boost green jobs and public transportation. It's like all of these things we're fighting for, to shut down our military contractors, to move our dollars, change our budgets. There are so many ways we can organize. And what you do, I think, depends a lot on what your community's doing. I think it's really important for us to be connected to our communities. If it's Washington, D.C., there's a whole slew of issues in DC. DC is fighting, for example, for ranked choice voting right now. It's a voting reform that gets rid of the spoiler. So you don't have to worry about, am I wasting my vote, or am I going to help Trump? This is a very simple reform, which actually as Greens, we have been promoting for decades, and finally it's begun to catch on. Or whether you're fighting to save a hospital or a healthcare center, or to raise money for Gaza, and to help people, pay the costs of escaping that, that torture chamber, whatever it is, there are so many things we need to do. And as someone who's been involved in so many different issues, I have kind of now come to work on a political party because it's essentially a coalition of the issues, and it's people who are covering different parts of it. So you have within the Green Party, you have people who are working on Palestine. There are people who are working to stop the war in Ukraine, people who are, fighting for healthcare as a human right. It's like all the things we fight for in our elections, we fight for in between our elections too, because it's not like they go away, or to implement rent control, so that people aren't getting kicked out of their houses. What you're going to fight for depends a lot on what's going on in your city and what's doable and what can people mobilize around. So I don't mean to like duck the question here, except to say that this is a very local question. And at the end of the day, what we do way better if we're doing it in an organized way. And we don't just fragment into this kind of divide and conquer situation. That's where the political elites want us. They want us divided across many issues so that we're not working together and we never reach critical mass. So, as Greens, we run for local elections too. We've had about 1,000 people elected to local office. And there you can basically work on the same agenda. You can ensure that your city council has passed a ceasefire resolution. You can work on your support for immigrants, for migrants, for emergency housing so that people are not being forced onto the street, with the record numbers that are happening right now. So between elections, in my view, is no different from during elections. It's the same thing. And in the same way that I feel like we're in a state of emergency in this election, police violence is another huge one that's getting bigger all the time. Working to ensure that communities control their police instead of the police controlling their communities is also really important. Really fundamental police reform and making sure that we're funding community safety that's not just the police. Police cannot address the drivers of community violence. We have to address community violence itself. We need quality schools. We need after-school programs. There's just a whole agenda of stuff that we need to do. And, this is what we try to do in our local Green Party chapters is target strategically what are some really key issues that we want to help support in our communities. And I have to say, the genocide in Gaza is going to be every bit as critical, and this time bomb, which is exploding. I mean, Israel and Gaza are a ticking time bomb. They are exploding right now, and they can re-explode. This will require continued attention, nuclear weapons, the climate crisis. We got a whole lot of emergencies right now. The fight for decent wages, we have a lot of emergencies. And I feel as an activist very frustrated because it's hard to work on them all. But if you're part of a political party is basically a coalition of people who share a common agenda and share the resolve that we're going to keep working on this stuff strategically, for as long as it takes. Does that answer some of your question, Nader?
It does. It does. And we'll, again, I hope we can, reach out to you afterwards. We'd like to discuss some other things with you that we don't have time for here. I do, before I go, thank you so much. I love your answer. I just want to reiterate something that you said in maybe a little bit different way. The lesser of two evils concept, I agree with you. It doesn't make any sense. Every single election we have heard that argument, and if we stick with that argument then we would never, ever have a change. And so we have to stick to our guns at some point and say, no, that argument doesn't make any sense. And this is it. We have to stick with the truth and vote for the truth. So I appreciate you. Thank you so much for your time. Thank you, Erik. Thank you, Shelley. Thank you, everybody. And I'm done. Thanks. We'll talk to you soon. Hopefully.
Thank you. Thank you for your wise words.
Thank you so much to Jill, and thank you, Nader. Thank you for swinging by, my friend. Al Mayadeen, we definitely appreciate you and your news network, Nader. Super appreciate you. Jill Stein, thank you once again for coming on here and speaking to everybody. You are definitely a huge fan favorite here on TikTok. That is for sure. You're popular all over the app. So that is awesome. Let me see. I think Surviving Daily is next, correct? Surviving Daily. Welcome to the show. Go ahead for your 1 minute question and appreciate your patience, my friend.
First things first, thank you for taking the time to answer our questions tonight. I've heard you speak on homelessness a couple of times, and it's my belief, and I don't think that I'm the only one that believes this, but two major demographics of homelessness is post-poverty or post-conviction poverty and the long wait times for disability. What in your presidency can you do to combat those two things? Thank you.
Great. Yeah, no, those all need to be addressed in a very big way. Homelessness is just one of many total wipeouts post-conviction. You know, post-conviction, post-incarceration, there needs to be, you know, a whole support program for people who are reentering, and jobs, healthcare, and housing. That should all be a part of reintegrating into society. People should not be just kind of tossed out, you know, and good luck, because that has everything to do with the whole recidivism rate, and you know, people wind up without resources, without a place to live, you know, and then they're desperate for, you know, for how to survive, and then they get into trouble, you know, or they have addiction problems, and then they're right back where they started. So, you know, this is a deadly system. It's just, you know, it's just impossible for all of society, as well as for the people who are struggling, you know, in the worst way. So we need to provide total wraparound services as people are coming out of incarceration. And for disability, you know, let me say, first of all, on you know, for drug disability, which is often a big part of this, we have to have a whole different approach to substance use and substance abuse. This should be treated as a public health problem, not as a criminal problem. We shouldn't be criminalizing people who have substance issues. And, you know, then we can begin to actually treat it. And it has to be treated with wraparound services. You know, we need treatment on demand. We need so-called harm reduction, so that people who are addicted can have a safe way to meet their addiction needs, but with wraparound services, so that they can then come off of their addiction. And this works in countries around the world that have housing, that have healthcare as a human right. It doesn't work in this country, where those services are not available. So, you know, that applies more broadly to disabilities, that people should not have to struggle and wait for their disability to come in. You know, again, we need strong services for healthcare and affordable housing, and we shouldn't be pushing out people who are, you know, disabled or less capable of, you know, earning the costs of their housing and their healthcare and so on. This should be, everyone should have a right to healthcare, to housing, you know, and to education, and that should not depend on being able-bodied. You know, it needs to be available to everyone without getting on some long waiting list and, you know, and dying while you're waiting for your services to come around. So this, you know, this should be just the rights that people are entitled to as part of society. And instead of spending $1 trillion a year making bombs and killing people with them, we can cut that in half and be spending, you know, what we need on ensuring that people have their basic services and quality of life here. Thank you so much for your question.
Yeah, thank you very much.
And thank you, Dr. Jill Stein. Super appreciate you being here. And that was a good question. Thank you, surviving. Pally, hold on. I don't mean to skip some people, but Pally Lyon just got married last weekend. So I gotta say
Thanks, Eric.
congratulations. I gotta say
Thank you.
congratulations to you, my friend. Congratulations. Everybody, please hit the
Thank you,
follow
brother.
button on Dr. Jill Stein and hit the follow button on Pally Lyon. He is also a content creator and live show host on TikTok. So really, really glad you're here, my friend. Congratulations on being married, and go right ahead, my friend, for your question.
Yeah, I appreciate you, Eric and Dr. Stein. It's a pleasure and honor to be in your presence and talk to you. Um, and I could be potentially talking to the next president, so that gives me chills down my spine. And I got all my family members to vote for you, and we're gonna keep on supporting you. And you are a front runner, and
All
keep
right.
on fighting the fight.
All
But my
right.
question is hopefully, and I'm praying, when you are in office, what's the first action you will take to stop this genocide in Gaza right now? So what's the first
Oh,
action you would take?
first action I will take is to obey the law, which says that no weapons can be shipped to a country which is violating human rights, which is interfering with the delivery of humanitarian aid, and which is violating a nuclear weapons treaty, that being the Non-Proliferation Treaty, which actually, that Non-Proliferation Treaty forbids Israel from having nuclear weapons. So on 3 counts, the president is required to stop the shipment of weapons to Israel. I'm seeing my image here slowing down. Are you hearing me okay?
Yeah, you're good. Your voice is coming in fine. Your image is a little skippy, but your voice is fine. That sometimes happens. That's okay.
Let me try it again. Are you hearing me now?
Oh no, we can definitely hear you. We can fully hear you. Yes, your
Okay.
screen, your image is
Okay,
skipping.
great.
Oh, now I cleared up a little bit, but that's like a typical glitch in TikTok. So
Okay.
it'll clear up after a few minutes. You're good to
Okay.
go.
Okay. All right, great.
But we can definitely
Um,
hear everything you're saying.
yeah, so great. All right. So Polly Lyon, can you just refresh me again? I lost
Yeah, no
your
problem.
question there.
No problem. I asked you what was the first action you would take to stop the genocide in Gaza, and you were talking about abiding the law and not providing weapons and so forth.
Yes. Yes. Okay, great. And that's a definitive action because Israel cannot continue this genocide and the war without weapons and support from the US and diplomatic cover. So that is the first thing that I would do, is stop the flow of weapons. And there are other things that I would do on day one as well, like initiate an antitrust lawsuit against the corporate media to break it up so that it doesn't have a monopoly on, on policy and coverage, so we can get real press happening again, which we don't have. I used to say I would free Julian Assange on day one, but thank goodness he's now been freed, and that's great. So there's, how about, Edward Snowden and Leonard Peltier and, Mumia Abu Jamal. So there are many others who need to be freed on day one. Yeah, so those are some of the major things that I would do on day one. There are other things that have to happen, in Gaza and Palestine, which include compliance with international law and ending the occupation and the apartheid state. That won't all happen on day one, but, just by stopping the flow of weapons, we can take a step in the right direction. Then, if there's more that we need to do with Israel, we should have a boycott, divestment, and sanctions going on against the state of Israel to bring further, momentum to the to the orders of the Security Council, to the International Criminal Court, and the International Court of Justice that demands that Israel come into compliance with international law.
Wow, thank you so much. That was yeah, I definitely agree with everything you just said, and thank you for saying that. Appreciate you, Jill. Dr. Jill Stein, we super duper appreciate you, and everybody, please check out her website too, jillstein2024.com. I put the link in my profile just to make it easier for you to just click on over there. On there, you can donate to her campaign, which I'm doing right after the show too. You can donate to her campaign. It's a big yellow button on the right upper right hand of the screen. Jill, once again, thank you so much for being on here. And we said before, it's very, very gutsy, and we're super glad that you came up here and taking questions from the audience. I was like, man, how many listen, Joe Biden would have nothing but scripted people asking him questions, and that is it. So, I mean, we super duper appreciate you. Thank you very, very much. Pally Lion, thank you so much for swinging on by. DJ K, you are up next, my friend. Thank you so much for your patience, my friend. Go right ahead with your question.
Thank you. Thank you for having me on the panel, Dr. Stein. I truly appreciate you giving us the opportunity to come up here, interact with you. As a Palestinian American, I truly appreciate all that you do for advocating for Palestine and standing up with the Palestinian people, as well as all the oppressed people around the world. So thank you very much for that. I came up with when I came up, I actually had the same type of question as Patty Line. My question was going to be, what does your first 100 days in office look like, and what would be your main initiative in those 100 days? And if you feel like you can add on to what you were saying, that would be phenomenal. If not, I have another question for you as well.
Sure, I can. So
Thank
what
you.
I talked about before was, kind of like a day one agenda, to stop the weapons, to start opening up the press and demanding that we actually have a real press. Right now, we have a press that's mostly amplifying the talking points of the White House or Congress, the Defense Department, the Secretary of State. They're kind of the official positions of the U.S. empire is mostly what we hear from the press. And, we need to have a press that's a watchdog, not a lapdog. The kind of press that Julian Assange represents. We need to hold power accountable. And so there's a lot that the press needs to do. Those are, some of the key things on day one. But I'll say in the first 100 days, we need to start enacting a people's agenda. And the key for that, there are a couple of really key things we need to do. The first priority is actually going to be healthcare as a human right for everyone. And the reason for that is that we have an incredible healthcare crisis right now, and it's also robbing us blind. We're paying, I think it's 17% of GDP for healthcare. 1 out of every 3 healthcare dollars is spent on just plain old red tape and bureaucracy and CEO salaries. It's total waste. We are spending twice as much as the next biggest spender per capita on healthcare, but we have abysmal, among the worst public health statistics of any of the developed countries. So it's a really wasteful and unjust system. A lot of people are locked out. So we need to move to a Medicare for all type system that provides health care as a human right to everyone, and it covers everything, including your mental health, your chronic health care, your dental care, your eyeglasses, your hearing aid. It's total head-to-toe coverage from cradle to grave, and it saves us $500 billion a year. Even after expanding it to cover everyone, it still saves us $500 billion a year. And imagine what we can do with that. So that's why this would be number one, because it's motherhood and apple pie. It has huge public support. People really want it across all the political spectrum. So this is going to be our first push in Congress. And to make it happen, we're going to bring back town hall meetings so that representatives have to meet with their constituents and also bring back congressional hearings so people can be educated about it. So that's going to be number one, and that will be a major push. We're also going to fight for a budget that cuts military expenditures and puts our dollars into healthcare, housing, and education. We will fight also for full funding for schools so that our K through 12 schools are actually equivalent. We have a common standard. Right now, you have a great school if you live in a wealthy community, and you have a terrible school if you live in a low-income community. That's outrageous, you know. Every child should have an equal shot at a secure life. So we're going to bring up the funding so that there's a common level across all communities. That'll be a big part of our budget fight. We're also going to fight to end student debt and to bail out the students and make public higher education free. So that's kind of, oh, and the other thing I should mention, this is part of the day one agenda, is that we declare a climate emergency. The minute we declare a climate emergency, we actually unleash over $500 billion in emergency funding to begin building out the infrastructure that we need, a renewable energy infrastructure, public transportation infrastructure, which is driven by renewable energy, sustainable agriculture instead of the system we have right now, which is depleting our soil and our water, and it's going to crash with the stresses of climate change because we're running out of water all over the place. So, you know, we need to move to a green economy, and by declaring a climate emergency, we have a whole lot of resources to start shifting people's jobs and ensuring that people have jobs that are creating a sustainable economy, not part of this, you know, dead end that we're running towards right now with the climate disaster, you know, which we're seeing rolling out now all over the world with absolute new heat records. There were something like 1,400 people who died in Mecca over the last week from the heat wave there, 1,400 people on a pilgrimage who succumbed to the heat. We're seeing monkeys and parrots falling from the trees in Mexico because the animals can't take it either. There are huge die-offs going on for the fish. And we're about to run out of water here in the US in the Colorado River system, which supplies California, which happens to provide half of the fruits and vegetables for the whole country. So you think we've got expensive food now, just wait a year or two until, you know, this crashes. So we need to start dealing with the climate crisis right now, and we can do that in a way that ensures that everybody's gonna have a good job solving this problem and contributing to a system that's gonna make us healthier as people and ensure that we have a healthy and sustainable environment and economy around us. So that's kind of the 100-day agenda. If we get that all done in 100 days, that'll be great. But some of it we can do, you know,
It
absolutely
would
right
be.
away, including declaring the climate emergency, which unleashes a ton of money right then.
Thank you so much for your answer, Dr. Stein. I appreciate it. If I can just follow up real quick, I would appreciate that as well.
DJ.
As we know, our deficit is at an all-time high. What are some things that you would do to try to reduce the deficit? And would that include things such as cutting off the $4 billion in aid that we send to Israel every single year from our tax money?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, we should not be funding Israel, even if we had plenty of tax money. We cannot be funding countries who are, you know, and the vast majority of our funds to Israel are all for the military. So, you know, we should not be in the business of funding any military which is abusing human rights, standing in the way of humanitarian aid, and violating nuclear weapons treaties. So on all of those counts, we should not be funding Israel. And, other things, we need to cut the military budget. We need to cut the military budget a lot, because right now it's basically a welfare system for the war contractors. And, you know, this is very, it's wasteful, it's devastating, it destroys the world. So the military budget needs to be cut. We need to clean up the waste in healthcare, which I mentioned previously. By moving to an efficient Medicare for All system, we save $500 billion a year on healthcare as well. So those are, you know, and then there are other big efficiencies that come into play once we start having an actually productive economy. And the investments in the Green New Deal do that, because they move. Right now, we are a debt-based economy. We're a financialized economy. We don't actually make things. We mostly just extract rent from people, and extract payment from people for their housing and, transportation and use of the roads. We're just, we have a kind of predatory economic system right now whereby the big players are milking the everyday working people who are barely surviving. So by moving to an economy that actually makes things like wind towers, like solar cells, like trains, things that we actually need, by having a more productive agricultural system instead of this corporatized system right now. We need to bring back family farmers and community cooperatives and things like that. So we can build a whole lot of efficiencies into our economy as well that also will help us earn our way out of debt. But for starters, there are huge areas of waste that need to stop right away. We also subsidize a lot of luxury housing. Often it's called affordable housing, but it's not affordable. And it basically supports big profits for the big, powerful real estate industry and for big pharma. So on all these fronts, we need to, stop the profiteering off of basic human needs and ensure that our dollars are being spent on things that we all need and that we benefit from, not from, supporting this economic elites and paying them back for their big donations to, to the political parties. We need a much more efficient and product-driven economy. So those are some of the ways that we can
Thank you.
start
Thank you
rolling
so
back
much.
some of that.
Dr.
I
Jill
truly
Stein, thank
appreciate
you so
everything you're
much.
doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you, DJK. Super appreciate you. Thank you once again to DJK. Everybody, Dr. Jill Stein, doing a fantastic job, and we super duper appreciate you up here. Thank you so much. And everybody, once again, if you would like to support her campaign and support her, drjillstein2024.com. Link is in my profile. If you want to donate, which I am, right after the show, on the website, it's a yellow button upper right-hand corner of the screen. It'll say donate. And once again, we super duper appreciate you. And again, everybody, listen, this election, don't hold it by the same rules as previous elections. Third-party candidates have a chance in this election. It's a completely different ballgame. The other sides have completely failed us, and they argue about nonsense. And for real, again, I've said this a couple times before, it's absolutely refreshing to hear something other than the same old talking points from left wing and right wing on here. We have more options, more choices, and we have choices we didn't even know were choices. So, super duper appreciate you, Jill Stein, for coming up here. Siobhan, you are next for your one question. Please go right ahead, Siobhan. Thank you for your patience.
Thank you for preventing me from taking a bite of my food. Just in time. Dr. Jill Stein, pardon me?
That was I think she had her microphone on by accident.
Yeah.
Go right ahead, Siobhan.
Dr. Jill Stein, it's an honor to cyber meet you. That's
Likewise.
How come you have my
Is
cat?
that your cat too?
That's our cat.
My cat has a lot of twins out there. Yeah.
Doppelgangers. I'm actually in Canada, Canadian in Canada, and I wish you were running in Canada, but I'll tell Americans to vote for you. And I'm curious about the opioid epidemic. I myself was unsympathetic to the problem because I was uninformed until I watched Dope Sick, and then I was like, oh, okay. So knowing that stigma is a barrier and blocking the people from getting help, how would you solve that problem? Or try to solve it?
I think exactly. And I think moving from criminalization to decrim is really important for addressing stigma, because while substances are illegal, and their use is illegal, it creates a lot of stigma. I think failing to provide health care creates stigma, so even if you were like providing treatment programs and harm reduction programs that enable people, to safely use if they're addicted, even if you're providing that, but people don't have housing and they don't have, wraparound health care, and they're not in job training, it just creates this kind of culture of shame and this culture of, a kind of embarrassment. So I think people need to be living dignified lives, and by treating substance use as a health issue, you enable people to start leading a dignified life and to have the support services that they need, under which people then begin to heal and can come away from addiction successfully. And it's really hard to do that if you don't have all those support services and a sense of, leading a dignified life. Also, if people don't have support services, then there's this kind of community shunning. The community kind of shuns people who have substance use issues, and then it just becomes kind of a vicious cycle. So we have to jumpstart a virtuous circle instead of a vicious cycle and help people get out of these, very unfortunate addictions, which usually have their origins in, in various kinds of stressful and unfortunate situations.
Thank you, Jill
Great.
Stein. Siobhan, that was an
Thank you.
excellent question, Siobhan, and appreciate you, Jill Stein, because that is something that I live in Massachusetts by coincidence, and near Boston. Oh man, very sadly the drug epidemic is taken a very, very strong hold on many people's lives. So thank you for that. Thank you, Siobhan. Appreciate you super duper much. Dr. Jill Stein, we thank you once again for swinging on by. And now let me see. I believe the next question is coming from Sophie for Palestine, I believe. Sophie, are you there, my friend? Welcome to the show. Let me get Sophie might be away from keyboard, microphone request. Let me get to Dionysus then. Dionysus, my friend, you are next, my friend. Go right ahead. Thank you for your patience, buddy.
I can tell why nobody wants to debate you. I wouldn't want to debate a lady from Massachusetts either. But a very important question that I think a lot of people need to hear is, what are we going to do about the treaties that we haven't honored to the Native American people here in America, and how we keep violating their sacred land and our own land, honestly, by allowing these corporations to run rampant on them? And how are we going to give back to the sacrifices they have made to allow our country to prosper in the way it has off of their land and their suffering?
Exactly. There are so many things about the situation with Palestine that repeats, the abuse of the Native people in this country. So number one, we have to honor the treaties, and we mostly, ignore them now. They have to be honored in detail. And, part of honoring the treaties is respecting that Indigenous people have control over the natural resources that are, in their territory. And that's all kind of mineral wealth. They also, have to control access to their land and their sacred sites and their mountains. All the territory that belongs to them needs to be respected as part of their treaty rights. And, there's the so-called land back movement, which also basically advocates that our existing national parks and our wildlands should really be under the supervision and the watch of Native people who have traditionally safeguarded them and done a far better job of preserving and protecting them than than non-native people. So, supporting the land back movement is also a very important part of giving back to Indigenous people.
Thank you,
Thank
Jill.
you for
People
that
needed to hear
question.
that. That's the only reason I asked it. And you slam dunked all these questions tonight. Thank you.
Oh, great. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Dionysus.
I get, personally very infuriated just to see the destruction of land that's taking place now, mountains, the kind of mining that's devastating natural spaces now. And that's usually happening along with the violation of treaties. So respecting treaty rights and respecting the indigenous wisdom would help all of us, absolutely all of us, and protects the same natural lands and water systems and all of that all of us depend on. So, I share your, your grief that these, horrific violations of Mother Earth are happening now in a way that hurts us all. So thank you for raising this point and making clear that this is how we solve it, by respecting Indigenous rights. It goes a very long way to respect our natural lands and our very vulnerable ecosystems. Thank you again.
Thank you, Dr. Jill Stein. Thank you, Dionysus. Everybody, super thank you to you, Doctor, and appreciate you up here. Everybody, if you wish to support Jill Stein, you can check out her. I put the link in my profile to make it very, very easy to click on over. JillStein2024.com. If you want to help out her campaign by volunteering, that there's a button in the top right for that. If you wish to donate to her campaign, there's a button upper top right of the screen, a yellow button. I'll be donating to her myself right after the show, because it's really a breath of fresh air to hear different voices and different opinions other than the same old stuff that both sides are otherwise talking about for the same decades. Sick of hearing the old same stuff, and so glad to be hearing some new opinions and different approaches. And we definitely thank you. Hopefully you'll be the one to really break the Republican-Democrat duopoly too. We can have more choice. I would like more than two choices. I would like more than three choices. I would like 4, 5, 6, 7 choices for president every year. So we definitely appreciate you. We're rooting for you. We definitely rooting for you. Thank you once again. Let me see. I think, let me see. Oh man, the next person to speak, I believe we're starting from so we're going to Subliminal Nation and then Alliances, Irish Fae, and Horn of Africa. So Subliminal Nation would be next. Is that correct, Shelley?
That's correct, Eric. And guys, we are getting lots and lots of requests because everybody wants to talk to Dr. Stein. We so appreciate it, and we're doing our best to get through them. So your patience is appreciated. Thank you, everyone. And don't forget, we can't do this unless we go to Jill Stein 2024 and donate. Let's put our money where our mouth is, my friend. Thank you very much.
And just to underscore that, thank you for that, Shelley. Just to underscore that, we can talk till we're blue in the face, but power doesn't care unless we are actually a threat to power. We have to be on the ballot on pretty much every state across the country. It doesn't have to be every single one, but it needs to be most of them. We're already on the ballot for a majority of voters. And that's usually like the criteria for getting into the debates and things like that. So we've already met that hurdle, and we are the only alternative candidate that's done that. Even RFK is not on the ballot for a majority of voters now. So we are way ahead of the game in that way, but we want to be on just about every ballot. And to do that, it costs a lot of money. They keep us jumping through all these hoops, and even where we have qualified, they're now trying to throw us off the ballot, and they are filing lawsuits against us to try to get us tossed out. They announced months ago that they were hiring an army of lawyers in order to use so-called lawfare. That's like warfare, using the law, abusing the law for purposes it's really not meant for, to try to throw us off the ballot based on technicalities, ignoring the fact that the American voters want other choices, are screaming for other choices. So we have a lot of these battles to fight, and we can only fight them with dollars, and that's why we just urgently, desperately need your support. And imagine if we're not on the ballot, that all you have is 3 pro-genocide, pro-war candidates. I mean, to me, that's just unbelievably bleak. that's why we need your support. So please, whatever you can throw into the hopper would just be wonderful. And you can do that at jillstein2024.com. Thank you again so much. Go ahead, Erik, back to you.
Thank you so much. Subliminal Nation is next. Everybody, please hit the follow button on Dr. Jill Stein and also hit the follow button on Subliminal Nation, who is a content creator and does Pro Pally live shows and does a lot of things on TikTok. So please hit the follow button on Jill Stein and Subliminal Nation. Subliminal Nation, welcome to the show. Glad you're here, my friend, and go right ahead for your question.
Thank you, Erik, and thank you and Shelly for coming by last night when we had Jason on. And I actually, as I said, we had Jason on last night and we had a lot of questions and we didn't get around to this. So I'm hoping Jill can address this. Now, we go live every night and every once in a while we'll have people ask, well, how is Jill or any third-party candidate going to get around the Electoral College, as if it's some Legion of Doom? So I would love for you to explain to people how the Green Party utilizes the Electoral College with their electors. And also a second half to that question would be how you plan on helping other third-party and independent candidates across the country if you become president so that their campaigns can flourish.
Great. Yes. And actually, we're trying to help other Green Party candidates, other anti-genocide candidates right now by holding forums and panels and just helping to lift up candidates like Jason Call running for Congress in the second congressional district of Washington, D.C., of Washington State. We have many congressional candidates all over the country. We've got a great one in DC, in fact, and we've done some panels with these candidates. They're fabulous. They're really inspiring. And so we are trying to lift them up right now as part of our campaign. And oh my goodness, I'm just seeing here that Jamal Bowman lost his New York primary.
Oh, no way.
That was
that's
the Wall Street
bad.
Journal, so that's probably, damn. Yeah, wow, that's really unfortunate, infuriating and unfortunate. And, we have to double down and work all the harder and keep fighting. And hopefully he won't, hopefully he will keep fighting too and maybe come back another time. To my mind, this is like part of what's going on right now, that Empire is absolutely, Empire is doubling down. And in many ways, the draft, the automatic registration, the genocide, the push for a nuclear war. It's not a pretty picture. And to my mind, that's why we really need to fight for the greater good here, like our lives depend on it, because in fact, they really do. The Empire is very serious. They are seriously fighting back against us, and don't let it discourage you, because that's what they want. They want us to be discouraged. We are building something here, and whether we win this election or we develop a strong force to keep fighting, the stronger we are as a force, the more power we will have to, push the envelope on all the policies that we need. Their stranglehold on power is, it's illegitimate, and it's also not real. It's based on their control of the money right now and their control of the process, but they don't control our hearts and our minds. And the more we can work together, we can become a stronger and stronger force to push back. And then back to the question about, what do we do about the Electoral College? So again, I want to make the point that there are going to be 3 pro-genocide, pro-war candidates, and we'll be the only anti-war, pro-worker climate emergency campaign on the ballot across the country for most voters, hopefully all, but at least for most. We're fighting actually in New York right now, where we were basically kept off by these outrageous ballot access rules, but we are now going to court and we'll be fighting them. So we're very excited about that. But to make the point, if you have 3 pro-genocide candidates and 1 anti-genocide campaign, that means you got 4. 4 splitting the popular vote means you can win with as little as 26%. And when you win the largest chunk. You don't have to have the majority. Just by having the largest chunk of the vote, that's called a plurality. By having the largest chunk, you then win all of the electoral votes. Just about all the states work that way. It's winner take all. That's how we can use this electoral college system to actually earn the majority. You have to get to a majority of the electoral college. And you might say, well, how can you do that if you don't have a majority of the votes? That's because of the crazy way that this system works. Hopefully we can get rid of the electoral college and just have direct popular vote. But for now, we've got the electoral college, and that's how we can use it to our advantage and still win the race in the electoral college. Does that answer your
Well,
question?
Jill, so what I was really focusing on is I don't think a lot of people understand that the Green Party has their own electors, that we're not relying on some, legion of doom that we would have to, hope votes for you. That's really what it was.
Well, that's a very good point, and you just made it really, really well, which is that by voting for our campaign, you're basically voting for our electors too. So however many votes we get, we will be putting those electors into the process, and they are pledged to vote for us. So it's like a distinction without a difference. It's like you could just forget about the electoral college. You don't have to think about it. It's this complexity, but it automatically works out so that it represents the way that we vote.
Thank you, Jill.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Subliminal Nation, thank you so much for swinging by. Everybody, please hit the follow button on Dr. Jill Stein and also Subliminal Nation, who's a content creator and does a lot for our movement. So definitely we boost each other's algorithms. Thank you once again to Subliminal Nation. Everybody, please, if you would like to really help the campaign, help her out. If you want to volunteer, if you wish to donate, and me, myself, I'm donating right after the show too, jillstein2024.com. I put the link in my profile to make it very, very easy to click on over there. The volunteer and donate button are in your upper right-hand corner of the screen when you go to her website. I'll be promoting it too right on after the show too, because I'm sure everybody wants to keep on watching Jill Stein right now. And thank you so much. You've been answering some very, very tough questions very, very well. So we super duper appreciate you. Alliances. Welcome, Alliances. And go ahead for your one question. I appreciate your patience, Alliances. Alliances, are you there? I think the internet just cut off on Alliances. Alliances?
No, can you hear me?
Yep,
Yes,
we can hear you
yes.
now. My
I'm
friend,
sorry.
go right ahead.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Dr. Stein, for being with us. It's an absolute pleasure, as always. I came to this great nation 20 years ago, just like Shelly and a lot of other people. We are a nation of immigrants. Came from Morocco, with which the U.S. has the longest treaty in its history, still standing strong. Built a family, did, law-abiding citizen as everybody. Before I took the oath of allegiance, the one stipulation is to forfeit every and any allegiance to a foreign government, right? We discover recently that dual citizen Israelis are picking up arms, taking a nice trip to Palestine, and enlivening a bunch of people and coming back as normal to the U.S. like nothing happened. Would you pledge today to put a stop to that? Because on top of them doing that, now my kid that I spent years to raise is plausibly going to go unalive more if asked to. Would you pledge to put a stop to this loophole so that way we're all equal under the law? And by the way, I was sick and tired of the blue pill, the red pill. Now I announce the hashtag I am taking the Jill pill. Hashtag Jill pill. Thank you.
The Jill pill. I thought you were going to say green pill, Jill pill. That rhymes better. Thank you so much, Alliances, Jill. Dr. Jill, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah, okay, so that's a really great idea, and I admit I have not given that thought before. So, I would love to give that some thought, but you're absolutely right. We can't have people going to foreign countries and taking up arms, whether they have citizenship or not, because even people do this without citizenship. We have people going to fight in Ukraine, going to fight with ISIS. In fact, that was a thing. What does it mean to take up arms and go fight for a foreign power, especially one that's not aligned with our values and our objectives? And, Israel is violating international law and human rights and, and our treaties and so on, the nuclear weapons treaties. So this is a very significant problem. And thank you for raising this issue. And I will certainly look into that. And at first blush, putting an end to foreign military service would just appear to be kind of a common sense, logical thing to do. So thank you
Thank you
for
very much.
that.
We appreciate you.
Thank you, Alliances, and thank you, Dr. Jill Stein. Appreciate you both very, very much. Irish Faye, you were having microphone problems earlier, so I'm going to hit the. I put a microphone request. You should be able to turn your microphone on right now, Irish Faye. The white box just popped up in the middle of your screen. She had microphone problems before, so all right. Unfortunately, Irish Faye is still having microphone problems. Sorry, Irish Faye, try to request again. Sorry about that. Let's go to Quart Size Minerals would be next. Go ahead, Quart Size Minerals. Welcome to the show and go right ahead.
Thank you. It's an honor for me to be with the next future president, Jill Stein. Ma'am, I have a question from you. First thing is that I belong to Kashmir, to the part of Pakistan, where it's a pending case still there since 1948, just like Palestine. My first question is related to that. There are many other places and other places. What is that you can do to solve those pending issues where we, the common citizens, are suffering in that part of the world? Secondly, inside Pakistan, as experienced from the present prime minister, who was trying to cut off the taboo just the way you're trying to do. So it was a flip of a coin in Pakistan where two-party was changing the coins, and then Prime Minister Imran Khan came in as a very famous candidate. The youth loved him. He was sportsman, and where you're trying to do the same thing, you got the support. The youth is with you. You're not an old school. Even at the age of 74, you're trying to bring the youth with you, which is awesome here in America. But in Pakistan, so what do you think that Imran Khan is now in jail? So do you think, is it easy for you that foresighted, what you think your vision is that thing is easy? If Israel can control America, so do you think that within America, are you able to continue with your, or proceed with your candidacy as a president for America? Because there's lots of obstacles. It's not an easy job. We know everything is crooked, everything is corruption in the entire world. So how can you proceed or continue, and what's your vision for the future, please?
So a lot of great questions there, a lot to unpack. And you're absolutely right, that there are going to be a lot of challenges here. To challenge empire is kind of a forbidden thing to do. But on the other hand, we don't have any choice because, we're heading towards, confrontation everywhere. The U.S. military policy has a name. It's called full spectrum dominance. That means that we will dominate all areas of the world in all potential dimensions of conflict. The battlefield on land, the surface of the sea, underwater, cyberspace, outer space, air, that we will dominate all of them. And we're not doing that. We're trying to do that, but it's not working. We have lost every, major war that we've been a part of, arguably since the Vietnam War, in the 1970s. So we're kind of an empire. We're an aging empire whose days are numbered. So things have to change. They have to change. We cannot afford what it costs us, and it also endangers the whole world, so it's got to change. And, Imran Khan had the problem that the U.S. empire disapproved. He wanted to be neutral in Ukraine, and after he announced his neutrality, that's when the U.S. moved and basically inspired a coup against him. So this is one of the regime change operations of the United States that put Imran Khan into jail. And we got him into jail. We can get him out of jail, put it that way. And, that's sort of our overarching policy that covers a lot of the particulars with Pakistan, with Kashmir, with most countries. We're basically trying to respect human rights, international law, and ensure that our foreign policy is based on diplomacy and not on the exercise of military might for economic domination. So that's kind of, in general, how we operate. It will be not easy. There's no way this is going to be easy, but we don't have an easy road ahead. The U.S. economy is in dire shape right now. It's working for the upper 10 or 15% maybe, but for most Americans, it's absolutely not. And we are not making baby steps forward. We're actually, we're going in the wrong direction. So we have no choice, in my view, except to stand up and fight this and, fight this based on principles of justice and sustainability and international law. So thank you very much for your questions.
Thank you so much, Court Size. Appreciate you very, very much. And thank you once again to Dr. Jill Stein. Humanity, thank you. And then remember, everybody, if you would like to volunteer or if you'd like to donate, Dr. Jill Stein's website, I have the link in my profile just to make it super duper easy for everybody. JillStein2024.com. The volunteer button, the donate button, the shop button, everything is in the upper right hand corner of the screen. I am donating after the show because this is something we super duper really need, everybody. You want to fix it. Listen, Dr. Jill Stein is the only person who is pro-Pally, very sadly. Both Donald Trump, Joe Biden, and also Robert F. Kennedy Jr. are all not on the pro-Pally side. That is for very blatant sure, as you can see. And highly unfortunately, everybody, Jamal Bowman lost his election to AIPAC. AIPAC spent $14.5 million. Guys, that's not just that's like a loss to democracy. I really can't, oh man. The election was kind of close. I just seen the numbers. Well, it was the election numbers was 55, or is it? I had it right here. The results is I'm reading the results right here. Oh, come on, screen. Jamal Bowman 45%, George Latimer 54%. So, man, I even made a video promoting Jamal Bowman, and that's, oh man, I'm really sad on that one. It's money, power, and corruption won against, one of the good guys, man. So it's very, very sad. All right, everybody. And right here, you have the only anti-AIPAC candidate right here in front of you. And it was AIPAC that made George Latimer beat Jamal Bowman. So right here is the freaking solution, everybody. We super duper thank you, Dr. Jill Stein, for being the only one to stand up for the truth, for God's sake. So thank you again.
That's right.
I believe.
So we do have $5,000 in matching for donations. So folks, let's get the donations going. We see now, look what they did to Jamal Bowman. They are throwing money at this. It's oligarchy. And this is not what this country was set up on. This country was supposed to be we the people, not those the few. So folks, let's get in, let's do what we can, and let's support Dr. Stein. We so appreciate you being here, and thank you everyone. We're doing our best to keep the panel going. It gets a bit glitchy at times, so I apologize, and we're doing our best here. Thank you guys.
Thank you so much, Shelley. Thank you, Dr. Jill Stein. Super duper appreciate you. Yeah, I kind of raised a bit of urgency now that Jamal Bowman. I kind of had I was hoping he would win and halfway expecting him to win. I mean, you have I mean, is it really, does money have that much damn influence against us? That is insane. Insane. All right. So, Russell, I believe you are next. Russell, then Raiders, and then we're going on down. So, Russell, my friend, go right ahead.
All right, thank you, Eric. Good evening, Dr. Jill. It's an honor to be able to ask you a question, so appreciate that. Ever since I'm an immigrant, right? I came to America many years ago, and first time when I heard of a party named Democrat, I thought they promote democracy. So right away between the Democrat and Republican, I'm like, I want to support democracy, right? So I want to be Democrat. Nothing that I didn't think much of it, right? After that, so just like me, there are many immigrants and people. They only know two parties: Democrat and Republican. We don't hear about any other parties, and I feel like it's because we don't have the structure in place for, like, for example, Green Party, like the Democrat and Republican have, right? So I just want to add a background to it. I'm from Bangladesh, right? My father was member of the parliament, and then my brother is also member of the parliament now, right? Recently he got elected. So the reason is that I understand how the party structure can really make you strong, right? Like, even if you don't have, you're not a tough candidate, but if you have your party behind you, you can make a difference, right? So how can we make party like Green Party, like Progressive Party, stronger and build that structure in America so we can compete with Democrats and Republicans across America? Thank you.
That is such a great question, Russell, and thank you for that. And a lot of people don't appreciate how much candidates are a product of their support network, and we call that political party. Parties have a bad reputation in this country because they are very, very, very corrupt and very controlled by the war machine and AIPAC and the health insurance companies and all that. The Greens are different. We are a people-powered party. But at the end of the day, we need that party, because if you're running as an independent, you're like a stroke out of the blue, and good luck. And good luck building the support that you need to get on the ballot. I mean, part of the reason we're on the ballot for the majority of voters is because we have a party that's been working on this for about 20 years, basically. So, you need a party to get to critical mass. You need a party to help with all kinds of stuff, because we're up against a very big, very corrupt political elite and an economic elite that's not on our side. So the Green Party is basically a party that's of, by, and for the people. And that's why we need it, and we have to build it. It's just us, at the end of the day, we are the ones we've been waiting for, and we can help build that party. When the campaign is over, we will help the campaign chapters roll over into the party if that's what people want to do, because this is a battle that goes on for the long haul. The same values that we're fighting for in this election at the national level, we're also fighting for at the local level. We need health care. We need good jobs. We need a living wage of $25 an hour. We need an end to student debt and quality schools. All these things we are fighting for at the local level. Even for an end to genocide, we need the resolution from our city councils and from our state government supporting this. There's so much we can do if we keep the heat on. We can't stop after the election. You just don't take down the empire in a couple of months. This is a long-term battle. And so thank you so much, Russell, for raising, these really critical issues. So I encourage people to, start putting out feelers. Do you have a Green Party in your state? Is there a chapter near you, et cetera, to connect. I think that's a good thing to do. It's, some people don't want to do that during a campaign because they're just focused on the campaign. And that's totally great too. But in terms of how do we keep this going, that's exactly what the party is for. Because if we completely ended and you lose your database, you lose, your agenda, you lose your platform, and then you're starting all over. No, you don't start all over. We build from election to election, from race to race, across our districts, across the different states. So this is a collective effort that continues going, and loved you're raising this as an issue that we have to keep up the fight in between, and that parties, allow us to do that. I don't recommend other parties. I mean, there are other people-powered parties, like the Party of Socialism and Liberation, some of the socialist parties. They too are people-powered, and that's great. The Greens have kind of the biggest network across the country so that we can fight the battle at the national level too. My hope is that all these little parties build collaboration, and we keep working together in this election, and then after this election too, that we have a multi-partisan democracy, but we're all kind of working together. We don't have to just stick inside of our own little, partisan universes. We can collaborate and become much more powerful together. So thank you very much for that.
Thank you. That was an excellent question. And thank you, Dr. Jill. Appreciate you. Mark, I see you, Mark. I just now noticed you, my friend. Welcome up here, my friend. You had something to add?
Yes, thank you so much, Eric, and Dr. Stein. Really, it's great to see you again. I want to also thank everybody who's asking questions here. They're all great questions. And I want to follow up on the alliance questions, and maybe.
Oh, Mark?
He lost signal. That happens. All right, everybody, please tap the screen, share the live. Super duper appreciate you, especially at a time like this. Oh, we got more than 500,000 likes. So, he completely dropped. All right, so his connection just kind of gave out on him. That's unfortunately. Mark is an awesome, great guy, and we definitely appreciate him up here. He works for the movement and works inside Dr. Jill Stein's campaign. So I'm sure he's going to be loading right back up here in a minute. So while he's loading up, all right, he's loading up right now. Okay. All right, Mark, go right ahead, my friend.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry. I was going to follow up actually for Alliance question about working in IDF or IOF. And the challenge is some state as well, they do have requirement for contractors or new hires. They have to pledge alliance to Israel and make sure not to boycott Israel. Trust me, without her saying it, I know she will make sure that the only alliance for any U.S. citizen or any EU contractors only applies to the U.S. and nothing else. So it's only about the people here. It's not about the outsiders. We, the people, actually paying for this movement. And if we don't pay for this movement, we are the only one to be blamed if we don't proceed. And I really thank you so much, Dr. Stein and Eric and Shelley, for all you guys have been doing. I really appreciate you.
Thank you, Mark. And we appreciate you so much.
Thank you, Mark. Super duper appreciate you. Shelley, do you have something to say? I see you turn your mic on.
Yeah, I just wanted to remind everybody again that we do have matching up to $5,000, guys. Let's go. You know these guys, these oligarchs? Gosh, that's nothing to them. They're giving out billions. So, folks, let's stand with Dr. Stein. We're so grateful for Dr. Stein for standing for us. So, thank you, everybody. Appreciate it.
Yeah, definitely, especially
Thank you so much,
AIPAC.
Shelley. Yeah.
Thank you. And we are on for Raiders for Life. Raiders, appreciate your patience, my friend. I know you've been waiting for a bit, so thank you for coming up here and go right ahead, buddy.
Hey, Dr. Jill Stein. I'm a little nervous. I feel like I'm talking to a superstar or an actor. I'm a big fan of yours. I've been supporting you from day one.
Oh man, thank you so much.
I'm actually I'm a registered Democrat, but I'm switching my party. And like I said, I've been supporting you from day one because I felt that Biden actually failed us. But I do have a couple of questions, and it relates to my profession because a lot of the teachers are asking me to ask you. I'm actually a teacher here in Texas because
awesome.
Governor Abbott failed us in a lot of ways, and the Republican Party. But I wanted to ask you, like, what are you gonna do for the funding of teachers? Because our pay is so low, and Texas governor don't want to pay us, and there's a lot of schools are shutting down here in Texas. They're like disappearing. Like my district lost 5 schools because of funding. So my question is, what are you going to do for the teachers with the pay and how to get the schools back on track and help the public schools? Because these vouchers, the Republicans are trying to do vouchers and privatize schools. So what are you going to do for us teachers that work in the public school system to make it where we get better wage and the kids will get more for the bang for the buck? And that means and I work on I work on the south side of San Antonio. Actually, I live in San Antonio, Texas. And I'm talking about the poor side, the rich side. Doesn't matter what side we're on. I'm just talking about public schools in general. What are you planning to do about the funding of public schools and the teachers? And my second question that relates to that.
Raiders.
Sorry.
Please limit to one question at a time at the very least.
Oh, sorry.
But
My
Raiders,
bad.
thank you, my friend.
My bad. Sorry.
All right, so really great question. And first, let me just say thank you. Teachers are at the heart of our communities. You are like part of our family, and we have to treat you that way. And we have to, ensure that we are funding our schools, not bombs and not genocide. We need to be funding our schools, and we have to be sure that, that the federal dollars are coming in instead of going out the door in bombs and missiles. We need those dollars coming to our schools and ensuring that our schools are safe, they're not full of chemicals, that their buildings are not dilapidated, that our teachers are well paid, that the support staff is well paid, and that we have a common floor that ensures that all of our schools are quality schools. We shouldn't have any schools that are struggling to survive or having to shut down. We also do not want to be in the business of privatizing our schools because that creates strain on the rest of the public school system. If you're taking money out to support private schools, then we don't have a quality public school system. So we support public schools, and we support quality funding that is supported by the feds. It's unjust that the quality of your school depends on whether you're a rich community or not. The quality of your school should not depend on your property taxes being high because you have high value real estate. All of our kids deserve quality schools with small classrooms and with satisfied teachers who are not digging into their own pockets to pay for the school supplies. And we need teachers who are not burning out because their jobs are so exhausting and they're so underpaid. So, let me just say that we need strong teachers unions, and strong school budgets and education budgets across the board. So yes, we are with you. We appreciate you. Thank you so much, Raiders for Life. Our children's lives really depend on you, and we thank you.
Thank you for that question because, like I said, it's so hard, that these state governors are controlling the budget and they're not giving us enough money. And I think that we need to stop ending that and have the federal, help take it over sort of way, in a way, I guess. That's what I'm trying to say. Because these governors are failing us. So that's what makes me so upset. And it makes my colleagues, my teachers upset about it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Thank you for that.
that's for
Thank you
sure,
that
Raiders. I
wonderful
agree
question.
with you on that, buddy.
Thank you for that question, though.
Absolutely.
Appreciate it.
Thank you for hanging in there. So hold on, we're coming.
Yes, thank you so much, Raiders. Appreciate you very, very much. Next is Palestinian Jew. Welcome to the show. Go right ahead, Palestinian Jew. Microphone on. There you
Hi,
go.
yes, I'm on. Hi, Eric, thank you so much for letting me up on the panel. Hello, Jill. I'm a very strong admirer of yours, and especially your stamina. You've been you've been at this panel for a few hours. I'm slightly younger than you, and I don't know how you do it. It's just amazing. You are absolutely amazing, and your breadth of knowledge on the issues. We've got to get you on some sort of a debate stage with the national audience. And what I was thinking, maybe since the two big kahunas there won't let you on, maybe you can debate RFK Jr. here on TikTok, or and moderate it. I don't know if Eric is a qualified moderator. I mean, could be, but maybe somebody. Eric, no,
My friend. Well, I mean,
but I'm thinking maybe
that's something
somebody.
that. No,
What?
that would have to be done in a more professional, even-based setting with both parties agreeing. So I mean,
Right.
that's something that.
You're probably right. I think that once the word is out that you're going to debate RFK Jr., the networks will pick you up. Absolutely. So and we can get maybe Michael Moore would probably love to moderate this debate. So if you have any, do you have,
Palestinian Jew. There's certain things that that's outside of the abilities that we would have at this moment. Do you have a question about our politics in America or in the Middle East, my friend?
listen. I want to see Jill get up there to be known to the world, and I think it's important that if we can get on some sort of debate stage with a national audience, and if you have a campaign manager, maybe you can reach out to RFK and see if he's willing to debate you,
Oh, yeah.
and then
Well,
reach out
let
to
me.
somebody who can moderate the debate, and then you'll be
And
picked up.
so
And
we already have, we
oh, no
we
kidding.
have been inviting RFK to debate Israel and Gaza, for example. We invited
And
him to debate that long ago, and he basically said no, he was much too busy. And now this time in this debate, we've also invited him to debate, since we're both locked out and we both have a legitimate, claim to be in the debate. For our
right.
team, it's because we are already on the ballot for a majority of voters, and voters have a right to know about any candidate on their ballot who could potentially become president. So we should be included on that basis. Now, we're on way more ballots than RFK is on at the moment, but he's better known, and he's been, doing better in the polls than we have, because we're completely unknown. We are locked out of media coverage. We are shadow banned on social media. I'm classified along with WikiLeaks on social media. I'm in the same category, so they don't talk about us at all. And I'm very honored to be in the same category as WikiLeaks, but it means that social media won't discuss us. So at any rate, it's hard for us to work our way up in the polls, but we're fighting to do that. In the meantime, we are on the ballot, so we should be included on just that basis. So we have proposed to RFK that we do a debate together. It would have huge interest. He does not want to debate me. I think he pretends that he's a peace candidate, and, bless his heart, he does support peace in Ukraine and maybe in China too, but not in Israel and Palestine. And that's not negligible. This is not a non-war. This is a war, which can, roll right into World War III and nuclear war. So this is a war too, and it should be debated. And if he really is anchored in his beliefs, he should be able to stand up and debate them. So he hasn't been willing. I wish that he would. I think it would be a fabulous debate. So we're still working on it. And we are very interested in past debates. We've actually filed a lawsuit too to try to force CNN to open up the debate, and they're not doing it. So it's going to be very hard to make that happen, at least this time. But we will be building a bigger campaign for the next debate, and we'll be doing phone call campaigns and letter writing and emails and so on, to whoever's holding the next debate. So definitely go to our website, jillstein2024.com, and sign up to be a part of the team. You can go to the volunteer page and definitely sign up to be part of the ballot drives, because that's really what's going to determine that we're on the ballot here. We have to fight these ballot access battles, but also signing up for the debate fight would be really great. And let's keep the heat on. Let's make it happen. And stay tuned. We're still trying to arrange something for debate night tomorrow, if only to be responding after. What we'd like to do is interrupt the stream so that we can insert ourselves into the debate and answer the questions in real time. So we're still working on whether we can arrange for that to happen, and if not, we'll at least do commentary after the debate. So go to our website to find out, exactly where and how, and please join us.
For sure, we'll do. Yeah, thank you so much, Albert. Eric, I'm sorry I did not follow protocol.
No, it's all good, my friend. It's all good. Thank you, pals.
Close on time, and I have people waiting, and so I'm sorry, guys. I want to make sure that I get as many people up as long as Dr. Stein is comfortable. So thank you so much.
No, thank you, Palestinian Jew. Thank you super duper much for your question, Jill Stein. I think if you had a debate with RFK Jr., here's the thing about RFK Jr. Yeah, he's running third party, and I'm glad we have more option. But at the same time, too, guys, he's like repeating the same stuff that everybody else is repeating anyway. He's not much of an option. He's just somebody else on a repeat. So, I mean, if Jill Stein actually went to a debate, I would love to see that, and it would not be a fair fight. I think you would. I think it'd be great that you would more exposure for you, and people could hear you speak and hear actual alternative views and alternative approaches 1,000%. So let me get to Angels. I'm sorry, Angels. Shelley. The next person to speak, is it Young Zell? I think I got the line mixed up a little bit. I think Young Zell is next. Excuse me, guys, if I mixed up the line a little bit. Majid, thank you so much. Yeah. Young Zell, I believe you're next, man. I'm sorry.
That's right. Thank you.
No, I think it was Sly Cash was next, not me. But if I need to go, I'll go.
All right.
We have some
Zell,
so let's just
go with it. Cash, I apologize for mixing up the order. Zell, go right ahead, then Cash will be next. I'm sorry, Cash.
No
Thank
problem.
You,
if he wants to go, he can go.
No worries. It's a pleasure to be on your show again, Eric, as always. It's always a pleasure. And always, as I like to say every day, we're always trying to look out for the oppressed and those around the world who are suffering right now without a voice. So it's a pleasure for me to have one. So I'm going to be quick. Real quick, Jill Stein, pleasure speaking with you. Just want to ask how your feelings are about bipartisanship within the system, because I do hear you speaking a lot about Democrats holding you out of the process. But when I look at your map on the Green Party of the states that you're still battling in, the majority of those states are Republican states. And so my question to you is, how are we going to get over the majority Republican rule of the Supreme Court and all the court system, and even states that are holding you out, is my real concern. And I'll let you go with that. Thank you so much again.
Sure. So, the states where we're on the ballot is not related to being Democrat or Republican. They have these crazy rules, and they say that you can start your ballot drive at certain times. So that's basically, we're waiting for the cycle in those, we're held to the calendar, the ballot access calendar in each state. And that usually stays the same whether they're Democrat or Republican. So it's not so much a matter of being Democrat or Republican, for being locked out. The Democrats and the Republicans all try to lock us out. And where we have gotten on the ballot, the Democrats are often trying to throw us off the ballot, even once we're on already. So, the wall comes from both of the parties. And I think the problem is not so much Democrat or Republican. The problem is really with the whole system, which is being run by big money and corporations and Wall Street and the war machine. That is the fundamental problem. In my view, it's not like one party or the other. It's about whether we're for the people or whether we're for the powerful. And we're for the people. And to push through, it really takes us mobilizing as people with the courage of our convictions. Because if you look at where people stand, 50% of people now no longer align with either party. 25% align Democrat, 25% align Republican. So it's really just a matter of people having the courage of their convictions and saying, no, we need healthcare as a human right. We need rent control, and we need public housing that we can afford, that's not ripping us off and delivering huge profits to the luxury housing developers. We need a foreign policy based on international law and human rights, not on just raw military power, which is robbing us blind. So our main point is that it's not a matter of parties. It's a matter of people versus the elites. And if we can get the word out, which is the big problem, because neither party wants it known that there are alternatives. They try to cover up the fact that there are alternatives. So simply by getting the word out, we can speak to the urgent, dire needs that the American public feels broadly, and then, acquire office and challenge power and begin to change the way that the system works. Right now, the system is in complete meltdown, and we have crisis in pretty much every dimension of our lives, and it's not getting better. Whether it's Democrats in power or Republicans in power, it's not getting better. So we, the people, really need to stand up and take our lives into our own hands, forget the lesser evil, and fight for the greater good, like our lives depend on it, because they do. Thank you very much for your questions, Elle. And thanks for
Especially
being
after
here
what's
tonight.
happened with Jamal Bowman, Dr. Stein. I'm so shocked. The most expensive race in history, and they beat him out by a few percentage points. You see, guys, that's all it takes, a few percentage points. Imagine how much they paid for each one of those. And
Yeah.
folks, we work hard for the right to vote. We work hard to be here, and let's show Dr. Stein our support. So thank you, everybody. So appreciate it.
And a really important thing that we don't know yet in Jared Bowman's race is how many people voted and how many sat it out. Because there are a lot of people who are feeling fed up with the Democratic Party and they're not coming out to vote. And that is the big destroyer of the Democrats. They like to blame it on third parties. I don't think there was a third party in that race. And the biggest failure that the Democrats have had is in the 2010 vote, after the Wall Street crash in 2008, where you had Democrats in the Senate, Democrats in the in the House, and Democrats in the White House, Obama. So it was a trifecta of Democrats, but they bailed out the Wall Street banks to the tune of trillions. They did not bail out the homeowners who lost their homes by the millions. So in the next race, Democrats lost 1,000 seats in state legislatures. They lost 64 seats in Congress, and they lost 13 seats in the Senate, and the same number of governorships. So this was a wipeout, not because of what third parties did, but because the Democrats have abandoned their base. And that's the real question now. So many people were going to be sitting this election out because they're angry at the Democrats and the Republicans, and they feel like it doesn't make a difference. So that's the number I really want to know in the Jared Bowman race. How many came out to vote and how many sat it out? That
Dr.
will really
one question I was going to ask you is, what do you think? Someone's in the chat, they put it. What do you think is a VP running mate for you, Mr. Bowman? I mean, he's pretty fantastic.
Ooh, that's a good one, actually.
That is a good one, actually. So we have a few people in the running, but this is very interesting. And actually, I did meet him at a benefit for a Palestinian group to benefit, healthcare and people in Palestine. And I actually met him there and found him very likable, a very likable person. So thank you for this suggestion.
And I got it from the chat. So thank you.
All right.
Dr.
Thank you, whoever made that in the chat. That's very interesting.
Yeah, someone actually did the math. All right, so on the Jamal Bowman, AIPAC spent $14.5 million which came down to $17,000 an hour average of what Apex spent on that. That amount of money is like ungodly. That is insane. Dr. Jill Stein, thank you so much. Everybody, if you wish to help her out, volunteer for her campaign, to help her campaign, or if you wish to donate, I myself am donating right after the show. Go to jillstein2024.com. I have the link in my profile to make it easy if you just want to click on over to volunteer, to donate, to buy any campaign stuff to help, show her off and stuff like that. It's all on our website. It's in the upper right hand corner of the screen. Just click on over there through my link, or however which way you want to go. Now I am on Mr. Cash. Mr. Cash, thank you so much for your patience, and excuse me for mixing up the line there for a second. So Cash, without further ado, my friend, go right ahead.
No problem at all. I'm here with a celebrity, so I'll take that. Dr. Stein, first of all, it's an honor to meet you, meet you. I have never been remotely close to any presidential candidate in my life, so this is an honor for me. I live in Europe and I have Middle Eastern background, so unfortunately I cannot vote for you as I'm not an American. If I was, I would, definitely. Let me first by pointing out that I see you as a person, as the light of this world right now, from all the world leaders. Why? Because everybody, but literally everybody, any nation's leader has been forsaken the Palestinians. Everybody. And they have been going through some very bad, horrific things that I can't even name and that I don't even want to watch. But unfortunately, we all see it on the screen. Now, since the end of the Cold War, America has been kind of leading the world, diplomatically, financially, militarily, politically, diplomatically, etc. Sometimes they do a good job, most of the times actually, in the international stage. Sometimes they do a bad job, but at this moment they are doing a terrible job as the leader of the world. Now, because of this, America has kind of lost its reputation as the holder of freedom and equal rights for everybody, not only in America, but on the entire planet. And my question is, not if you win, but when you win, how is it able to be repaired?
Oh.
And as a follow-up, I'm not trying to be disrespectful at all. I believe in equality. As a woman, as a female candidate for the presidential race, do you think that will also have an effect on your race? That was my question. Thank you very much, Dr. Stein. And I really, really hope that you are going to win, and I'm going to pray for you. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. America's role in the world, has been terrible. And in my view, America is rather hypocritical, and that has been revealed in a very big way. We talk about democracy, but we overturn other democracies all the time. There have been 70 such regime change operations since the end of the Second World War, so we are, we act like the global empire, and we're kind of the bully in the schoolyard. Sometimes we do some good things, but most of the time we're really promoting American interests and big corporations and the economic elites around the world, and, really putting our dollars into the military and into confrontations. But we are no longer the dominant economic power. The US and its allies in NATO are now a smaller portion of the world GDP than the BRICS alliance, Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa, and then some Middle Eastern countries as well. So we're no longer the dominant power. In my view, there should not be a dominant power. We need to be team players here in a world that is shared among us, and injustice to any of us is basically an injustice to all of us. The world has become too interconnected and too, small, really, for us to be just abusing other powers. We need to kind of begin thinking of ourselves as one small planet, which is what we are. And if we ruin it for anybody, we're kind of ruining it for all of us. We all share the water, we all share the air, we all share the consequences of war, which is destroying all of that stuff. And that's unfortunately where most of our dollars and our energy are going right now. And the US is kind of run by its military industrial complex, as President Eisenhower warned about, back in the 1950s. And that is kind of what rules the day right now. So it needs to change for the sake of us all. And I think we can restore American stature by becoming a citizen in good standing in the world community. So I think we can recover, but we have to get out of the business of bullying the rest of the world. So yeah, I think we can do this, but we have to do it in a way that's principled and that is consistent with international law and human rights. We are no longer top dog in this fight. So we need those international laws and human rights to protect our own interests now going forward. So all of these are reasons why we need to get with the program and start, behaving like one of the adults in the room and not one of the kind of unruly, bullying teenagers, which is kind of how our leaders, our misleaders are behaving. Thank you very much for that question, Cash.
We super agree with that too. And the reason why these leaders on the Republican and Democrat side are so unpopular is they just as you said, they're kind of like immature, really. I mean, I noticed that too, their behavior, the way they speak and everything. There's like nothing presidential and mature about our candidates anymore. And we definitely appreciate you for, the way you handle everything too, your tone of voice and your very rational thought. We super duper appreciate that too. And that does reflect, and we do see that. So thank you very much, Dr. Jill Stein. I think Buddha is next, and then Horn of Africa will be right after. So Buddha, thank you so much for your patience, Buddha, and go right ahead, my friend.
Yes, it's an honor and a privilege to be on Erik's panel, to be able to have this privilege to see presidential candidate Jill Stein. It's an honor and a privilege because I never got this privilege when it came down to Bernie, who I supported, who I thought was going to go along the way, and he faltered and kept on saying the ones that are evil, good people. So my question is, pretty much I'm a working class and I fall under the union. Mine is more based on union question. And a lot of the stuff involves in working class, everything that deals with it. But the main question is, how are you going to be able, I don't know if anybody answered this question yet, how and what method or technique will you be able to remove legalized bribes? That is the fabric that is destroying this country, is the legalized bribes. That is my question.
Great question. Great question. Thank you so much for that. Yes, it is this system of legalized bribery, which is our elections. And, politicians get bribed basically by campaign contributions. In my home state in Massachusetts, we passed an alternative system, a public funding system of elections, which you qualify for, and then everybody gets the same amount of funding. In addition, in my view, we need to make the public airwaves available to the public for free, basically to qualified candidates. Ballot qualified candidates should have free access to the airwaves. That way the costs of campaigns go way down, and, and we can provide that public funding. And then candidates have an alternative system. Now that ideally we want a constitutional amendment to ensure that, that money is not treated like speech without limits. We need rules that allow us to limit the money that flows into campaigns. And I, in my opinion, we should not have campaigns run by private money at all. It should all be run by public money. You have to qualify for it, and then you've got to be in the debates. You can't choose, you have to be in the debates so that people know where you stand. So it can be a very rational system, and the American people are really hurting for this, really want publicly funded elections, and are sick to death of the big money that's basically has a stranglehold on our political system. So how do we get there? I think we get there by getting to the bully pulpit. If you win office, whatever level it's in, you have more access to the public airwaves, and we can help push this kind of a system and push this reform. And this would be, one of our high priorities, to have a system of public financing so that we can get the big money out of politics and get the people back in. Thank you very much for that question. This is absolutely important.
No, thank you for your time. You're the only candidate that I know other than RFK, Scary Panel, are doing this. I don't see no Biden. I don't see no Trump. I don't see any other. This is a peak in development in what people want, and to see more interaction from our leaders, not just basic pillow talk. So other than that, I'm actually privileged enough to even talk to you, because I just got done with an extraction. It cost me $1,500. That's one of the other things that annoys me about my country. So other than that, I stick to your guns, and I'm voting for you.
Thank you, Buddha. Appreciate you so much, my friend, for swinging on by. Thank you, Buddha, buddy. Yeah, we talk about the big lobby industry in America all the time, and how the underlying system of incentives is sadly the money system and not the people. So thank you so much once again to Buddha. Horn of Africa, you're next, and then Peaceful Warrior right after. So Horn of Africa, thank you so much for your patience, and I'm glad we got your glitch fixed. Horn of Africa. Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. Horn of Africa. All right, there you go. Go right ahead.
Thank you so much. Thank you for everything, Eric. I have a two question, Doctor, if you don't mind. My first question is, I see an article saying a UN will send their military forces to Haiti. If UN can send their military to Haiti, and why they cannot do same thing in Palestine? If they have that power to send the military to stop the war between each group and Israel. That's my first question. My second question is, I'm living in Canada, and the election in the United States affected us so badly, and we're not happy to see Donald Trump comes back, because we are facing high Islamophobic, anti-Muslim, anti-immigrant. We're facing so much difficult right now, and we don't want to see Donald Trump come back. And I talk to everybody, and I ask everybody to vote for NDP. NDP is the terror group. I ask because NDP is good for immigrants, it's good for work class, good for the poor people, it's good for everything. We wishing to have it, but honestly, people, I think they're gonna choose to different party. So I wish I was living in this state. I would vote for you, but I'm not living in this state. So I'm asking everybody to vote for NDP, because NDP is like your party, terror party. But right now we're facing a lot of anti-Muslim very badly. And thank you.
Yeah, I'm very sorry to hear, that anti-Muslim Islamophobia is a problem. I feel like the war breeds Islamophobia, and because there's so much propaganda around the war, and we heard this recent case in the US, I think it was in Texas, where this woman tried to drown a Palestinian 3-year-old. I mean, it was just unbelievable what's going on there. And this is very much what you get when there's war propaganda flying around. And it's another reason why we have to end this genocide and we have to end this war. So I really sympathize, and we also have to call this a hate crime. The effort to drown this child should be considered a hate crime, and it should be prosecuted, at the federal level. We cannot tolerate, this kind of just horrific Islamophobia. It just is, plain and simple. As far as sending forces to Israel, the problem with that, so first of all, let me also say that sending forces to Haiti has not worked. This has been kind of part of this process by which the West has controlled Haiti and really suppressed Haiti's own, civil society. So I do not favor actually sending forces into Haiti. The Haitians should be allowed to fix this themselves without, the U.S. and its proxies coming in, because this does not work in Haiti. And the U.S. Has been, we overthrew their democratically elected government of Aristide twice, mounted coups against him. Haiti has been really destroyed as a society by outside interference. So I don't think that's helping. And the problem, I hope you're hearing me. Okay, my video froze there, but it seems to be working now. The issue in Israel is that Israel has nuclear weapons. So it's going to be really hard to send forces into Israel unless Israel agrees to do it. But Israel has nukes, and more effective, I think, is going to be an economic boycott. We can do an economic boycott. We can also deny weapons to Israel. So, and that would, if Joe Biden would pick up the phone and do like Ronald Reagan did back in the 1980s, or like Dwight Eisenhower did in the 1950s, we can shut down Israel's genocide in the blink of an eye. We can do it. We don't have to send in troops, and with all the blood and gore that is likely to involve. So we can do this peacefully by Biden asserting his power. He's supposed to be in charge here, but he lets himself be just kind of like an appendage to Netanyahu. He allows Netanyahu to call the shots. This is absolutely so humiliating for the U.S. empire. We're really like a subset of the Israel empire. We're making Israel the empire of the world. We have to insist on a ceasefire and compliance with international law. So we can do that with the power that the U.S. has over Israel. And we have to force Biden is the thing. We have to force Biden. He's not going to do it by himself. And that's us. We're the ones we've been waiting for. And by getting on the ballot and by having a strong force, we can push Biden. We've already pushed him a long way. He used to simply shut down and veto all of the ceasefire resolutions by the Security Council. Now he is actually proposing the ceasefire resolutions, including one that was actually promoted by Hamas just a few weeks back. So that's progress, but now we have to get him to actually force the issue. So we need to stand up and get on the ballot. And if you can make a contribution at jillstein2024.com, or you can join the ballot drive, or both, you can do that at that website and become a part of the solution here. And let's force Biden's hand, because he's not going to do it without us.
Definitely agree. Dr. Jill Stein, thank you. And everybody, again, to make it very easy for you, I put the link in my profile. If you click over my profile, click the link, it'll bring you right to Jill Stein's jillstein2024.com, where you can volunteer, you can donate. I'm donating right after the show because this is like something we really need. This victory would have huge positive repercussions, man. And again, not just a two-party system anymore. We could have 3 options and then build off that and make it like 7 options 8 years from now. Because I mean, really, we super duper appreciate you. And again, I'm donating right after the show. Anybody wants to donate to her campaign or volunteer, again, it's all in my, it's the link. I just put it right in my profile so you don't have to type nothing in. jillstein2024.com. Thank you so much to Horn of Africa. I super duper appreciate you, my friend. And I believe Peaceful Warrior would be next. Peaceful Warrior, my friend, go right ahead.
Yes, hello everybody, and hello doctor. Appreciate you being here. Thank you very much. And I want to salute you and commend you for your stance against some of the finest criminals, and I wish you'll be safe and you take care of yourself. Now, with that being said, uh, uh, so you're a successful.
Peace.
Yes, you're a successful
Oh,
woman.
no.
You are a successful woman that don't need this. I mean, and we know how dangerous this can be, obviously, because again, you are literally fighting. And I was listening all this time. You're just fighting against some of the finest criminals here in this world, and you don't need this. You're a successful woman. What is your why? What made you want to do this?
I grew up after the Holocaust, just after the Second World War, in a Jewish community that was grappling with what it meant to have a genocide, to your community. And this was a very big existential crisis. I mean, I wasn't born until after the Holocaust, but even, 10 years after, it was devastating, absolutely devastating. And I grew up attending a Jewish synagogue, a Reform synagogue in a Jewish community, and this was a very big deal. How did we come to terms with having a genocide to your people? And the way that we dealt with this was by resolving that this will never happen again, not to anybody. And a lot of people in my generation became social activists, and this was all about creating the world that we wanted in reaction to the horror of a genocide. And so that was just like in my bones. I never thought I would be fighting a genocide, but when it emerged, it was like, oh my God, we have to stop this. This is destroying all of us. And so that's like where a lot of that comes from. And I think just my own kind of sense of social justice kind of grows out of having grown up, after a genocide. So yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of where my drive comes from on this, but I can't I can't pretend it's not happening. I can't pretend I don't know that the climate is also shutting down and, is also, once you've kind of seen the light, you can't unsee it. And so all of that has kind of been making me more and more of an activist over the years. And also what makes me an activist is knowing that we can fix this, and especially that we have the power to fix it. And the only real missing ingredient, the only thing we don't have is like harnessing that momentum. But it's like the words of Alice Walker: the biggest way people give up power is by not knowing we have it to start with. We do have the power. We have the numbers. 68% of people oppose the genocide and want a diplomatic, immediate solution and a ceasefire. Half of all renters are like a paycheck away from being evicted. So we have incredible numbers of people who are being thrown under the bus now, who will stand up and vote for something if they know about it, if we're on the ballot. So again, I just really encourage people to go to Jill Stein 2024 and just throw in $5, or throw in 15 or 50 if you can afford it. But if you only throw in $5, there are a lot of people on this live now. If everybody threw in $5, we could be a whole lot stronger and ensure that we have another ballot access battle, under control here. All of our resources right now, there's a minimal amount that's going to our very minimal staff. But beyond that, it's all about fighting these ballot battles and then fighting in court where the Democrats are trying to throw us off. The Democrats have actually advertised for infiltrators. They pay about $65,000 a year for people to infiltrate our organizations, to infiltrate our ballot drives, and to mess them up. We actually found their ads. They were advertising on a public list for disrupting our campaigns. So this is happening, you know, and it requires us to actually step up and fight it. It's also a sign of progress, you know, because Gandhi's saying, first they ignore you, then they laugh at you, then they fight you, then you win. So they never felt like they had to disrupt us like this before. Now they do. Or they never took us to court before, because the disruptions, you know, I mean, we've been dealing with some stuff that seemed like disruptions for a while, but they never took us to court before. Now they're doing that, you know, they're taking us to court. So clearly we are getting somewhere. We are making them very insecure and worried. That's why we need your support, because without your support, we cannot fight the empire. The empire is striking back in a very big way. We need you to stand up and go to jillstein2024.com and be a part of this battle and enable us to fight back for all of us. Thank you so much.
Thank you for answering my question. So with that, I want to tell everyone why voting for lesser of two evils when you have an angel ready to serve you. Go out there, visit the website, and like I said last time, we have 700 people, almost 800 people here. If every one of you make a video talking about this angel in front of us, that I honestly did not hear anything that I disliked about what she said for the last few hours, and she's here talking to us. So go to the website. If you can't donate, try to be a volunteer. If you can't volunteer, just create a video, speak. If you can speak, you can create a video, basically promoting this angel that's in front of us. I'm gonna keep calling her Angel. Your name from now on with me is Angel, Dr. Jill Stein. I hope I'm not being disrespectful. I really, really, really appreciate you and love you, and thank you very much. And for whoever who know me, I have a really good eye for good people versus bad people, and she's an amazing human being. That's all I can tell you. So go out there, go to Stein2024.com and do something positive. If you want change, you gotta work for it.
Yeah.
Thank you, Peaceful Man. Appreciate you super duper much. Again, everybody, just to make it super duper easy, I put the link in my profile. If you want to click on over. And yeah, I'm donating too right after the show. I'm donating because we need. I mean, you know, it takes money to win elections, and by donating, you can super duper help. And I'm donating right after the show. Link is in my profile. It takes you right to the page at the top right hand of the corner of the screen. You can volunteer, you can donate, and super duper appreciate you, Peaceful. Thank you, Doctor. And I believe, let me see, is it Shelly? Is it User X or Tammy is next?
It is User X, but real quick before you go, I just want to say my little lad was photobombing there. Sorry about that. And the thing is, any of us with kids, it's not just for us. They're now automatically signing up our kids to go and continue this. And folks, I worked at DOD hospitals during Iraq and Afghanistan. I saw the state of those kids coming home. We all know what's going on over there, but sometimes take a peek into a VA or a Navy hospital. I don't want that for my child or any of yours. And the only person that I see right now that can stop that is Dr. Stein. So let's get behind her and let's show her support. Thank you, truly, Dr. So appreciate it. Thank you, Eric. Thank you.
Thank you, Shelly.
Shelly. All right. I'm sorry. You said User X is next? User X, appreciate your patience super duper much. User X, go right ahead, my friend. Welcome to the show, buddy. User X, I see your microphone is live. All right, we're going to go right to Tammy. Tammy, thank you for your patience. Go right ahead, Tammy. Hello, Tammy.
Hi, thank you. Thank you so much for letting us little people, us little people join. And Dr. Stein, I'm grateful. I'm grateful for you for giving us this opportunity to have everyone be able to discuss this. So here's my question, love, right? So I'm looking for your opinion and preferably solution to the geopolitical issues with China particularly, but also Russia striving for access to the Red Sea, Black Sea, and Mediterranean Sea access to Europe. So along with land crossings, this, I believe, is a huge core issue driving the horrors happening in Palestine and neighboring countries controlling these waterways and accesses. Can you help? Because I want to know, can you understand, I think, right, what I'm asking, right? Because I think you understand that these are core issues that are driving so much of this hostility. Would you agree?
Yes. And if you go back to Ronald Reagan's Secretary of Defense, Caspar Weinberger, who said back in the 1980s that Israel is the unsinkable battleship for the United States in the Middle East. What he was talking about was essentially controlling access to Middle Eastern oil. And, you know, the waterways surrounding the, the Middle East, the Red Seas, the Mediterranean, all of that, those waterways are critical, but especially it's like the Red Sea and the Straits of Hormuz and, it's those passageways that are really, really critical for the movement of oil and the shipping of oil. And that's the control that the U.S. has sought. Control by a foreign power is very problematic, and it's the control over that oil that has really created this very explosive situation. It's the U.S. installing dictators, for example, making arrangements with Saudi Arabia and then propping up their dictators, taking down the government of Iran, the democratically elected leader of Iran in the 1950s, Mossadegh, who was overthrown by the U.S. because he was claiming the oil for the people of Iran. So we overthrew Iran and installed a vicious dictator, the Shah of Iran, who was in power then for decades, and a ruthless, murderous dictator. So it's controlling other countries' resources that is really at the root of so many regional conflicts, including control over the waterways. This should not be controlled by one country. The U.S., a foreign power in particular, should not be dominating that. There should be, international law that governs the laws of the sea and access, which should be available broadly and not controlled by one power, which is going to be hostile to other powers. This is the roots of so many conflicts, and
Yes.
it needs to be solved really through, again, international law and by the U.S. not trying to control everybody else's resources and waterways.
And will you support that, love? Will you support that international agreement with those bypasses? Right? Does that make sense? What I'm asking, will you support that agreement amongst all of us?
Yes. I think we need to be a team player as a member of the world community, not the bully in the schoolyard that is trying to control the world's resources and waterways and all that. Right now, U.S. policy says that we will dominate all critical resources of the world. The policy is called full spectrum dominance. It was declared in the early 1990s that the U.S. will be in charge all around the world, on the water, on the land, in the air, in cyberspace. The U.S. will dominate all potential spheres of competition. We cannot be the world's dominator. We need to be a team player in a multipolar world. We are no longer a unipolar world dominated by one power, which is what we've been since the Soviet Union fell apart in 1990. We've been kind of the sole imperial power, and those days are over. We need to transition to being a team player and a collaborator. It's like when kids grow up, they go through the bully phase sometime, and then they have to grow out of the bully phase, and they have to, grow into being, an upstanding member of their community, and they need to become an adult in the room. And we have to do the same thing on a national level.
Dr. Jill Stein, thank you so much. Tammy, thank you so much for your question. Everybody, once again, please help out Jill Stein too. If you would like to donate to her campaign and really help the movement, because remember, she is the only candidate who's also on the pro-Pally side, the only candidate. So I made it very easy it's jillstein2024.com. But to make it easy, I just put the link in my profile. So if you want to click over, you can do it that way. To volunteer or to donate is in your upper right-hand corner of the screen when you get on the website. And again, everybody, I'm donating right after the show, and I super duper appreciate you coming up here for all these questions and everything too, Doctor. We super duper appreciate you. Goldie, I believe, is next. Is this the same Goldie who is that makes the shirts and everything? Goldie?
Yes, it is. I'm on my backup
my
account.
friend Goldie.
Yay!
I haven't seen you for a while. I've been promoting your stuff too.
There's my shirt. Yay!
Yes. This is Goldie. Everybody is someone who works very, very hard to promote the promote the movement in artwork and everything too. We super appreciate you being here, Goldie. So everybody hit the follow button on Goldie. I haven't seen you for a couple of months, Goldie, so I'm glad you swung by. Goldie, without further ado,
I'm in the audience. I'm in the audience watching and sharing, and I'm here, my brother. I'm here with you in spirit and keeping an eye on you. Miss Jill, thank you. And another thing, Eric, I want to thank you. I want to thank your mods. I want to thank Shelley for creating such a safe space for us to come up and ask Jill Stein these questions and allowing us as voters and everyday civilians to come up and have a conversation with her and us feeling like we can truly get some answers. And with that being said, Miss Jill Stein, I appreciate you and I'm honored to communicate with you like this. I would like to tell you that I'm a Native American Indigenous woman. I reside in California. And a few of my things I'm concerned with is you did mention that you don't feel like when you're president, because let's be honest, you're going to be the next president. When you go into presidency, you made it clear that you don't want to, or you will not be bringing military reinforcements into Gaza. And I just wanted to know if that means that what are your thoughts on sending troops into Palestine with Colombia as part of a UN peacekeeping mission? And then I also wanted to ask you another question. And again, just the ones that you can answer, I would be grateful for. But as a Native American, we are getting Lakota tribe lands back, or sacred lands back, which I'm very happy about. And we are working on Mount Shasta getting back to us because those are sacred lands. And I just wanted to know where you sat on those, because the Native Americans and the Palestinians, my family, I have family in Palestine, and I have family out here. We are about protecting our sacred grounds, and we're incredibly interested in what your thoughts are on that. With Gaza being in the state that it's currently in, of course, getting much more attention, I wonder what it would be like when you take presidency if Israel does not pull out and they create much more havoc than they are. Wouldn't it make sense to get some boots on the ground in Israel on the Gaza side to prevent and to create a safe space for them?
So thank you very much, Goldie, for those really important questions. The issue of boots on the ground is difficult for a number of reasons, because Israel has nuclear weapons and they've already threatened to use them. So it's not like we can send in troops unless Israel agrees to it. So it would be hard to send in troops on the ground to be peacekeepers unless Israel agrees. So that's the problem there. But we do have other means of forcing Israel to do the right thing. And that is through, first of all, Israel relies on the US for 80% of its weapons and for diplomatic cover and for the financing for its military. So we stop that. That stops on day one. The president can stop that with a phone call if the president wanted to do it. But if we're in office, we will do it. We will not allow this war to continue. And our support with weapons and diplomatic cover and financing stops on day one. We can go beyond that as well to really push for a global boycott, divestment, and sanctions, which will be devastating to the economy of Israel. So we have means, nonviolent means, of ensuring that Israel is going to comply and will, number one, cease the genocide and the genocidal war, stop the occupation, stop the blockade, allow, relief and rebuilding, but also to put an end to the ethnic cleansing and the apartheid state of Israel. So some of this will take longer than others, but it can begin immediately. And, that boycott can be used to essentially force Israel to participate in this international process. So,
Beautiful, awesome.
that's my sense.
Thank you. So
Boots on
we
the
have
ground is
options.
it's
Yeah, so
risky.
boots on the ground would be risky in the sense where, like, as soon as you take office, which I do believe you will, you do have my vote, and I have donated and I have done the ballots where we can. Yeah, we have your back out here for sure. I just, as a Native American, I want to ensure that we can move forward and get our land back to our people and give Palestine their lands back, and just
Yes, and
continue this race in making things that were wronged right.
exactly. And I think the situation of the Palestinians is very much like the situation with the indigenous people in this country who've basically had their land stolen.
I agree.
And the land back, first of all, we need to comply with treaties, which we don't, and respect the sovereignty of indigenous nations over the land that they control, and corporations, et cetera, cannot come in and develop that land. And for whatever reason, because these are sacred sites, or because the indigenous people are the stewards of Mother Earth, which they are.
They are,
they
yes,
have
ma'am. Thank you
sovereignty
for
over
that.
this. They have sovereignty over these lands, and I think land back goes beyond the lands that are treaty lands, and recognize that our national parks, our large open spaces, need to be protected by indigenous people who have long been the stewards and the best stewards of, of our ecosystems and Mother Earth. So
Yes, and the
yes,
NDN coalition, honors the right of return for Palestine and the Palestinians in diaspora all over. So, and speaking of that, we know that you were holding the line and you were taken under arrest at a protest. And my family in Gaza wants to extend their thank you. So on behalf of our family in the West Bank and our family in Gaza, we are incredibly thankful that you held the line like that, and we honor you for that, because it isn't a secret that not one president, I mean, the fact that you're even speaking about free Palestine and taking on these initiatives and you're up for presidency is a magnificent, beautiful thing, right? What a time to be alive. So I honor you, I respect you, I see you, and I appreciate you. I just wish that we can get more help to Gaza and more help to the West Bank. What are your thoughts on the settlements out there? Do you feel like we would, once you take office, because you're going to take office, we're going to manifest it, what do we see that direction going in?
Yeah, I mean, the settlements are stolen land, they're illegitimate, and, they need to be stopped, and, they need to be pushed back. And whether they are taken down, or whether other lands needed to be traded for them, I'm not sure exactly what the particulars are, but we need to restore, Palestine to be a whole and integral community. And the intrusions of, there is a plan which got revealed, I think, just this week, was it Smotrich? I forget who it was that had a meeting at which he disclosed that there is a plan to basically annex the West Bank.
They
So
actually
that
just chased out two of the last villages, two of the last people. Yes, sorry. Do I need to stop asking questions? I'm sorry. Do I need to share the panel? See, I'll take you all up to myself, okay? There's others. Okay, Jill, I love you. I appreciate you. You guys can drop me. I can talk to her all day about freeing Palestine. I appreciate you guys.
Goldie,
Love you,
and before
Goldie.
you
Thank
drop,
you.
everybody, please hit the follow button on Dr. Jill Stein. Also hit the follow button on Goldie. She's done a lot of work in making T-shirts and doing a lot of artwork. She's done a lot for the movement since the beginning. So Goldie's been here since the beginning and doing a lot too. So thank you very much, Goldie.
Thank
Dr.
you
Jill
guys.
Stein,
I love you all. I love you all. Okay, drop me before I keep going. Okay, I love you guys.
Thank you, Goldie, for your honesty. Everybody, once again.
I have a funding
Shelley,
update,
go ahead.
Eric. Sorry to jump in, guys. I have a funding update. We actually have matching for all donations today. All donations we have matching. So isn't that fantastic, Dr. Stein? And you so deserve it for all the hard work that you're doing. So guys, let's go. Let's actually
Thank
do it
you.
right now. We won't mind if you jump off to go and do it. So let's know. And in fact, you know what you could do? Let me know in the comments if you've donated. I really want to know if you're listening to us, folks. It'd be nice to know if you're receiving the message. So thank you so much.
And if you haven't donated, if you haven't donated, just throw something in, knowing that it's going to be matched. Basically, it's going to be doubled. So if you can donate $5, that's $10 that we can use to fight the Democrats who are trying to infiltrate. They're trying to get spies into our campaign, into our parties, and basically mess things up. They're also trying to drag us into court. So whatever you can throw into the pot is going to get doubled, and it will help us stand up. I mean, imagine what it would mean not to have a anti-genocide, anti-war campaign on your ballot that is fighting for Palestine. I mean, to me, it's just like unthinkable for us not to be fighting full bore. So, let's ensure that doesn't happen by making a contribution now to ensure that we can fight these ballot battles. This isn't something that can wait. We're on this really rigid schedule that's imposed by all the states. So if you can just take that time now or immediately after and throw something into the pot. There are 800 people on this on this live call right now. If everybody put in $5, that is a huge boost to the battles that we have to fight now to ensure that everybody can stand up and vote to dismantle empire and oligarchy and put an end to genocide. That is the power that we have right now, and it takes dollars to do it. So make it happen, and let's be that unstoppable force together. Thank you so very much.
Dr. Jill Stein, I can't believe they're doing that infiltration tactic. They did the same thing to Bernie Sanders in 2016, famously, and that got exposed. That was very, very dirty. And guys, they do this so they can keep the game between Republicans and Democrats, and that's a damn shame. That's underhanded tactics. That's very, very that's despicable, really. Again, everybody, so someone's matching donations. That means that if you donate like $50, someone's going to match you and make it 100. And that's really cool for somebody. Once in a while, somebody comes out and does that because they know it does help drive up donations and stuff. So I'm going to take advantage of that too and probably put a little bit extra in there because I know it's going to be doubled up. So I definitely, whoever's doing that, they want to remain anonymous, I'm sure. But I want to thank them if they're listening for matching everyone's donation for the first few grants. So that's super cool of them. Everybody, if you want to donate, the quickest, easiest, simplest way is I put just to make it easy for you, I put the link to the website in my profile, jillstein2024.com. Link in my profile. It's just like a couple clicks away. And then to volunteer, to get merchandise or to donate, it's all in the upper right-hand corner screen once you hit on the website. So let me get to someone who's been waiting a long time. Double A Palestine. Welcome back to the show. Hello, how are you? Go right ahead for your one question.
Hello.
My friend, welcome back.
Yes, will do. Hi, Eric. Hi, Dr. Stein. Thank you so much for letting me ask my questions. Thank you for being here. You're amazing. I have two quick questions. So I know your background is healthcare. You're a physician. You know that makes us really proud. We need a doctor out there. It's time to have somebody who actually takes care of people and cares for human life. Um, so my one question is, in an environment where talking about politics, talking about election at work is considered rude. It's although we have all this freedom of speech, there is no way to engage people. There is no way to start a conversation. And you can attempt all you want, but you will be that person who stands out and people talk about as being, unprofessional. What do you suggest? We have all these nurses, all these physicians, all these healthcare workers. The healthcare force is huge. And if we can just engage, and everybody's frustrated with our healthcare, as it's just a crumbling system. It's so unfortunate. We're frustrated every day with, things we see. And so I think there's a big, opportunity to get the healthcare workers to learn about you and get engaged. But really, how can we do that? I do support you. I have your posters. I have your bumper stickers. I have your t-shirts. I wear it to my gym, but I can't wear anything to work. I cannot find a way to get the word out in any other way. So that's my first question. My second question is, how can we get you on TV? Because this is great. Of course, we have a huge audience here, but we need to get anybody who hears you. I know anybody who makes sense, anybody who has a brain, who has a heart, which is a lot of Americans. If they hear you, they become diehard fans like I am. But how can we get you out there to be heard so that we can really make that movement? I cannot imagine anybody hearing your message and not, you say you're basically, the perfect candidate. And I'm not saying this because, it's just, in every way, it's like a dream come true. So I know there are a lot of people out there who feel this way and just need to hear your message. They know nothing but the two-party system. So those are my two questions. And thank you again so much.
Great. Thank you, AA Palestine. Those are really important, fabulous questions. On the question of how to talk to people first, and then, whether at work or your family or neighbors or whatever, and then to the question about TV, or broader exposure. But first about how to talk to people.
Yes, I'm sorry. Especially about you and your campaign. I mean, not just general politics, just
Okay.
Awesome.
Okay, great. All right, because there's also Palestine, which is also like really a very tricky issue. And in terms of our campaign, it's kind of similar. There are some people who are open to discussion, and then there are people who are not. And I think it's important to do what you're comfortable with, and remember that there are people out there who are hungry for other options. A lot of people in like the professional positions are comfortably situated, and so they are not particularly change agents. It's often people who are really struggling, who are struggling with their health care, to even get health care, who are struggling to keep their rent, who are struggling with student debt. Or who are at a pro-Palestine demonstration. There are gatherings of people that are chomping at the bit, and there are loads of people who aren't voting. And the characteristics usually of people who aren't voting are low income, of color, and young. So, if people are kind of in that demographic, that's like golden. That's like really who you want to be talking to and who are often most receptive. And you may find that your work environment may not be receptive. Another way, to approach when you're not sure is to just feel people out on, how are you feeling about your choices this election? And then just to like let them know that there's another choice that they may want to check out. And there's also campaign literature so that you can bring, we have one card which is all about Gaza. And then we have another one which is it's a more standard, piece of campaign literature. So having some of those with you and then just feeling people out. How are you feeling about this election? I know a lot of people are thinking about sitting it out, and you can just approach it in a way that doesn't come on too strong, and it just kind of approaches things in an open-ended way. Sometimes that can be easier to broach that conversation. So that's one way, to open a conversation with people in your turf, as opposed to like going to a demo for affordable housing or for rent control or, a pro-Palestinian demonstration. Because then you can be much more straightforward. Do you want to support, do you want a candidate on the ballot who actually is anti-genocide and anti-war and pro-worker? And usually people will just gobble that up. And they don't, they may not know that there's going to be a candidate on most of the ballots across the country. So there it can often be more receptive. And, I would just encourage you to find a place where you're comfortable talking about it, because then you'll do a better job and you'll be more persuasive and all that. So it may take feeling it out a little bit. And if you approach it as helping inform people that they have more choices if they're hurting like most people are hurting nowadays, and you can kind of frame it in that way, which is not kind of too challenging and won't be perceived as pushy or even about being political if you're just letting people know that there are choices. And then the other question about TV. So we are suing actually to try to get into the debates, and it may not, it may be too short of a lead time this time, but we will be doing it for the next debate. So, get on our mailing list, go to our campaign website, jillstein2024.com, and sign up, to be a part. You can also sign a petition pushing for opening the debates. We will be coordinating like letter writing campaigns and emails and phone calls to, like, Democracy Now! Has not had us on. Democracy Now!, which does great coverage of Palestine and Gaza, but they are very paranoid. They have a lot of Democratic Party funders. They don't want to rock the boat. So we may at some point need to push them. Right now, we're so focused on our ballot drive, we're not really doing our media campaign right now, but we will be. So there's plenty of help that all of us can give, because if they're hearing from all of us, they will open the doors and we'll be heard. Tomorrow, after the debate, we are trying to set up a commentary actually during the debate, if we can work that out to interrupt the stream, to be able to answer the questions in real time. We will try to do that. If we can't, we'll probably be doing commentary afterwards. So again, if you just go to our website and sign up, go to our social media, at Dr. Jill Stein, Dr. No period, Jill Stein, and follow us there, because we'll be announcing what we're going to do in this debate. And I'm hoping we will be able to pull something together to do some kind of a debate response to. So by sharing that, by letting people know about it, by propagating our announcements, whether on Twitter or other social media, Instagram and TikTok, you can just help spread the word, and that'll be really helpful. So thank you so much for that, and thank you for all you're doing.
Wonderful. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much for the question. And guys, don't forget, Dr. Stein is here with us. Let's make sure we're donating. We've got a very generous benefactor that is going to match the donations. So let's make sure that's what we're doing, folks. We're up against it. We've got the oligarchs. We've got Butcher Biden on one side and the other fella on the other side. So we know what we're dealing with, right? So Dr. Stein is here, and she is walking the middle ground for all of us and for our kids. So make sure you're donating. Folks, we're almost out of time, so we're going to move it along quickly from here on. Thank you. Sorry, that's the peacock.
Thank you, Shelley.
The dogs, the peacocks, everybody wants Dr. Stein. The dogs are barking, the peacocks are going. Everybody wants Dr. Stein. Thank you, Jeff.
I appreciate you. Just to make it really, really quick. I mean, really simple and easy. If you wanted to donate, I put the link right in my profile, so you can click right to my profile, click the link, and you'll be right on Jill Stein's website, where you can volunteer, you can get the merchandise, and you can also donate. And that is in the upper left-hand corner of the screen. I'm donating right away too, and it's super duper cool for someone to match and double all donations. So if you put down $20, it's going to be $40. So that's really cool for somebody to do that. Right now, I think I'm going to be going. Trey for Congress was requested up, so I think I'm going to you first, my friend. Trey for Congress.
Yeah, pleasure. Thank you. Nice to meet you, Dr. Stein.
Good to
I
meet you, Trey.
hopefully have a really simple question for you. Your platform speaks to me deeply. In fact, it inspired me to run for local election in Arizona here. So I'm throwing my hat in the Green Party race for state legislature. So again, your messaging really, really resonates with me. So my question is, I also follow another Green Party candidate, Jasmine Sherman. And when I look at Jasmine, same thing, her platform has a lot of similar messaging. However, hers does focus a little bit more on, in my opinion, on, I guess, quick fixes for, the bottom 50%, the poor people that need immediate rent relief or, maternal protections and things in that nature, things that are really, really important to average people like myself. What would you say to a candidate like me, who fits in that minority group, why your platform is the one to support over Jasmine Sherman's platform or another Green Party candidate?
Yeah, so I'm not all that familiar with all of Jasmine's programs, but I do know that, for example, she wants to end many of the federal programs like the Department of Education and the Department of Environmental Protection, and a bunch of things like that, that basically destroys the infrastructure that we also need, the Department of Health and Human Services. So I don't exactly understand the reason for that. And on that basis, I don't support that part of her platform. There may be other good things, but I'm not sure that they are, I haven't really heard them well explained, and many of them are entirely new, never been done before, and don't really have an explanation for how you're going to get there. Like one of the programs is, I think, to take all empty housing or all empty business offices and put people in them. I'm all for actually taking unused housing and allowing people to occupy it. There will take quite a bit of program to do that, and construction. It's not like that's going to happen like that, but that needs to happen with a whole program of how you're going to develop it. But I absolutely agree that we need immediate relief on housing, and there are many resources that can be brought to bear. But I think destroying our federal programs that support housing and health and human services and environmental protection and the Department of Education, I don't think that's going to be helpful. And it'll pull the rug out from under a lot of people who rely on those supports.
Dr. Jill Stein, thank you so much. Trey for Congress, appreciate you and appreciate you trying to run for Congress, my friend. And I wish you the best of luck too, man. Everybody, please hit the follow button on Trey for Congress and also Jill Stein, of course. And good luck to you, Trey of Congress. We need fresh blood in there. I'm sick and tired of hearing, and that's one of the things I really like about Jill Stein is because really Republicans and Democrats, they're both repeating the same damn lines for the past few decades. Jill Stein has actually given you like alternative solutions and different approaches and everything. And she's addressing things that the other ones are too afraid to address. So thank you, Trey, for Congress. And I believe Fatima is next. Fatima, thank you so much for your patience and go right ahead. Thank you for your patience, Fatima. Appreciate you.
Hi, yeah. No, no worries. I understand. No, no problem at all. Yeah, good.
Oh,
She lost connection right in the middle of her speech. Oh, that's just bad. Oh, that's just bad luck. She's waiting for a while and lost connection.
Hello?
Are you back? You're back?
Hey, I'm here. Do you
All right,
hear
go
me?
ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm
All
so
right, go
sorry.
ahead.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, let me repeat. I'm so sorry again for the, my question is going to be like a brief, and I know you've been really being questioned so many for hours, and you must be very tired. I met you briefly in DC, and I have your photo on my profile.
Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
Yeah, so, my question is with regard to my daughter with special needs.
Okay.
Yeah, I live in the DC area. I used to live in Virginia, and my daughter Sarah had jobs, in Virginia for like 15 years. But as soon as we moved to Maryland, although we live in the same, Metro DC area, she lost her job because there isn't this interconnection between two states. So Sarah is not finding a job for 4 years now, and I'm struggling with that for my daughter because she is, as I said, she is highly functional, but because of her situation, there is nothing here in Maryland that is like helping her as it was in Virginia, you know. So is there something in your, program, in your plans to connect, like have this collaboration between states, especially for the people that the neighboring states, like Sarah could have easily stayed in the same job while we are only like half hour away from her old job, but she
I
can't
see.
stay in it because she is in Maryland now, which is ridiculous. And my daughter's health is being affected because she's not working, trying to keep her busy, take her to the gym, she's gaining weight, she's with Special Olympics. I'm so sorry I'm taking too long, but this is
Yeah.
very important, to me.
Oh, it
And
is.
just if you have something about it.
Yes. I mean, I think our services for the disabled, for people who are coping with disabilities of various sorts, we need to have services for them, so that you shouldn't have to travel back to a different state. This should be available across the country, that there should be jobs, there should be enrichment programs. Many people are living with disabilities. Many people who do not have disabilities now will have them eventually. If we all live long enough, we will all have disabilities to deal with. We need to have a supportive environment that supports everyone to live to the fullest of their potential. And we can afford to be a humane society, to have programs in our schools and then in jobs that keep people engaged and a productive part of our communities. Right now, we have an economy that's just trying to, which is predatory and which is exploiting workers and exploiting communities. And the money's concentrated at the top and a lot of it's going into the war machine. So that is the fundamental problem. We need to be, to ensure that we have full services for the disability community, and that includes, both housing and transportation and employment. So this isn't a compromise that people should have to make when they move from one state to a next. This should be provided across the board, across the nation. And that's something that's built into our platform. If you actually go to our website, jillstein2024.com, and you go to the platform drop-down menu, either says policy or platform. I'm not sure. I think it says platform. And then you can find the section on support for the disabled community. You'll see that there's a whole extensive program there about meeting the needs of all Americans, regardless of how abled we are or the different ways in which we are abled. We should be supporting our more vulnerable members absolutely to the fullest of their
I appreciate that.
potential. So I sympathize with your problem, and this is really inexcusable. So we can fix this.
Yeah, we're both voted for you. Sarah signed up on your platform too, so she's gonna vote as well. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, sweet. Thank you so much. Give her my
Thanks a
best.
lot. Thank you.
Thank you.
Appreciate you so much.
And thank you, Fatima, for being up here, because you've been on social media a lot, helping out platforms and stuff too. So thank you very much, Fatima.
Of course.
Appreciate you super duper much. You're always welcome on the show. Everybody, please, if you'd like, someone is actually doing something super awesome and matching donations. So I'm probably going to give a little extra just because, like, let's say you give $20, someone's already agreed to make it $40. They're going to double up all donations. That's like that's super cool for somebody to do that. I'm going to be donating right after the show. To make it very, very easy, guys, you can go on jillstein2024.com. I also put the link right in my profile to make it, you're just 2 clicks away from being on the website, and it's in the upper left-hand corner of the screen if you would like to donate to her campaign, which I really, really hope you do. And listen, guys, again, the rules for this election are different than all other elections. The game has completely changed. Third-party candidates actually have a chance to win in this election, and I freaking really hope to God they do, because we're sick and tired of both. I mean, Democrats and Republicans, they've been promising you the same stuff for decades, and they still don't deliver for decades too. They just blame the other side. And right here we have an alternative, and this is the only pro-Pally option candidate, which is insane. And she's the only person sticking up against AIPAC, while RFK, Trump, and Joe Biden are all taking obscene amounts of money from AIPAC, frankly. Subs, I super duper appreciate your patience, and go right ahead, Subs, my friend.
Thank you very much, Eric, for bringing me up. It's an honor to meet you, Dr. Jill Stein.
Honor to meet you, Subs.
Thank you. I'm not an American. I'm from Australia. My question to you was, what can we do outside of America to help out?
So one thing you can do is talk to your friends and relatives and people that to help spread the word. You can participate on social media and amplify our communications. Yeah, those are kind of the main things, just by helping to get the word out, and particularly through social media, and then any informal channels that you have. That's huge. And thank you. You said you're in Australia?
Yeah. I come from a large community of Afghan Australians in both Melbourne and Sydney. So thank you very much, Dr. Jill Stein. Will be doing exactly that to help out.
And thank you in Australia for all the heavy lifting that Australia did to get Julian Assange released.
Such
today,
a good thing to see
actually, to get
yesterday.
him
Yeah.
out of jail. Yeah, which is so important for, addressing the endless war that has been committed against, against Afghanistan and so many other areas around the world. Julian Assange, is holding power accountable and made the horrific, atrocities and the war crimes and the torture and all these just unthinkable things that have been done in Afghanistan and elsewhere around the world that are just unforgivable. Very much, similar to what's going on in Gaza. The same outrageous, abuse of humanity is being practiced by the U.S. empire in so many areas around the world. And, thanks to Julian Assange for shining a light on all of that. So thank you out there in Australia for doing your part to support him.
Thank you, Dr. Jill Stein, and once again, thank you, Erik, for bringing me back. It's been such an honor. I'm stuttering, talking even. But yeah, I'll do exactly that. I appreciate you. Thank you.
Subs,
Thank you
thank
so
you,
much.
buddy.
Likewise.
Appreciate you super much.
Thank you.
Jill Stein, you have actually been with us for 3 hours and 45 minutes answering everyone's questions. That is superb. I mean, we are all thoroughly impressed. And there's many people who commented on that saying, wow, they're very impressed too. No other candidate actually goes and meets the public like this. They just take pre-agreed on comments and everything from journalists. You're actually talking to people, not journalists. And these are questions like from the public themselves and not, so this is very gutsy of you. And that is super awesome of you. I think you've won over a lot. I mean, you've already had a lot of TikTok is mostly on your side right now too. So we super appreciate everybody. Please donate to her campaign. I made the link very easy. It's on my profile. So you're 2 clicks away. And then you can hit the donate button. It's a yellow button in the upper right-hand corner of the screen once you get it on her website. And we super duper appreciate you. Jill Stein was there for the college protest. She stood in line. She actually got arrested with college campus protesters at the, that is awesome. And also she was there on June 8th in front of the Washington, D.C. White House with a lot of other, I was there, Shelley was there, Jill Stein, you were there, and you were giving speeches, and that was super cool to watch you and listen to you do that. And we super greatly appreciate you, Jill Stein. Thank you so much for dropping by. Everyone, please donate to her. But Jill Stein, any parting words? And we are super impressed by you. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. And I'm super impressed by all of you. And nobody enjoys this more than me because to me, this is what democracy looks like, and this is what the real press looks like. This is about empowering ourselves to take control of our future and take control of, this sham democracy that we have, which is no democracy at all. It's by our standing up, informing ourselves, and then asserting our power in this election. And power concedes nothing without a demand. We've got to assert power and we have to demand what we want and what we need because the system is so extremely corrupt. We have nothing to lose here but our chains. We have everything to gain by standing up with the courage of our convictions. And however far we get, it is a victory. And it is wherever we get to, it is a victory that we build on. And because this is a total black swan election with 3 pro-genocide candidates on the ballot and only 1 anti-genocide, anti-war, pro-worker campaign on the ballot that can bring together, our many crises and the people who are in crises, we can have an unstoppable force. We need to take down empire and stop genocide and stop the oligarchy. And we can make a huge leap forward and maybe even make it all the way to the White House and bring a whole lot of other congressional candidates with us and local candidates. So thank you all so very much for being a part of this unstoppable team that we are together. Go to jillstein2024.com and sign up to be a part of that team. And the rest is history. And let's keep it happening. And I really look forward to our next conversation.
Appreciate you super duper much, Jill. Yeah, I'm going to be donating myself to your campaign right after the show. And once again, thank you super much for swinging by. People are going to be, and a lot of other content creators and live show hosts came by too, and they're all on board about promoting you on their shows too. So we super appreciate you. Thank you, Jill Stein. You are always you're always going to be in our hearts now. So thank you very much. So 3 hours and 49 minutes, everybody. She stood by and answered all your questions. Damn. Thank you so much. Thank you, Jill Stein.
Awesome. Okay, take care, everybody. Free Palestine.